After the brutal heat of Hamilton Island, Australia, Super League Triathlon has crossed the globe to just off the coast of France, and we've doubled in size. Our men are back, they know what's coming, and they have scores to settle. And here we'll crown our new queen with 25 of the best women in the world taking on Super League for the very first time. 4 races, 50 athletes, Olympic medalists, world champions, Ironmen and women. It doesn't get much better than this. This is Jersey. This is Super League. We're back.
What is Super League?
Fast.
Painful, tactical.
Action-packed. This is Super League.
C'est magnifique.
Hello, I'm Will McCloy, and alongside me, 2 of the greats of triathlon, Emma Snowsill and Chris McCormack. And Macca, Super League Hamilton Island was great. This is a bigger and better challenge.
Well, I think we all agree Super League Hamilton Island exceeded all our expectations, and now here on Jersey, it's going to be absolutely marvellous. An epic course to have a look at.
Twice as much talent, Emma. We've got 25 of the best women in the world as well. It's a deep field.
Strongest women's field we've seen assembled since Rio. These women are going to put on a true show for us as well, so very exciting to see what they can produce.
And we get to stand on top of a castle. That's not too bad either. Let's find out a little bit now about what Super League is all about. Swim, bike, run. That's triathlon, and that's all it has ever been until now. Brutal, tactical, explosive. Super League Triathlon takes every traditional element, douses it with rocket fuel, and welcomes each willing athlete into the furnace. The series debut at Hamilton Island in Australia took the established triathlon order and threw it straight out of the window.
It's Alistair Brownlee who's missing from this front group of runners. He's been shelled. He found that bike ride very, very difficult.
Yeah, really struggled through that. My legs just don't want to go. Hopefully I'll get better as the races go on.
Some struggled, whilst others shone. Why? Well, it's much shorter for a start. 300 metres in the water, 6 kilometres on the bike, and a 2-kilometre run. Each stage cutting 80% or more from the Olympic distance.
It's short, it's hard, it's aggressive racing. It rewards those athletes that take chances. If you're not ready, you're gone.
Then there's the tactics. Today's triple mix switches up the traditional order. Swim, bike, run. Yeah, there's that. But there's also run, bike, swim, and bike, swim, run. Anyone can shine, and anyone can fall.
Oh, we've had a huge accident there. Who is that in the red helmet?
That's Ben Shaw.
What a day for Ben Shaw.
Tomorrow, it's the Eliminator, and the tactics change again. It's 3 races of swim, bike, run with 10 minutes break in between. Only this time, the tail enders are cut at each stage finish. Earn yourself a place in stage 3 with the rest of the top 10, and you're in with a shot.
There's no difference between winning this event and finishing 15th.
He was counting them.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Super League takes the best of triathlon, breaks it down and rebuilds it with one sole purpose: to be the true test for the multi-sport athlete. Body, mind and pure grit, with a series lead and a very big check on the line. That was Hamilton Island, and it's all behind us now as we move on to round 1 proper. 50 men and women are going to take on what is an incredibly technical course. Alongside me, Macca, as he was before on top of that castle, which was fun. Alistair Brownlee, dual Olympic gold medalist, and Vicky Holland, also with an Olympic medal, if you don't mind. Plenty of talent here. Macca, we'll start with you. You must be excited.
Very, very excited. It's been 6 months since Hamilton Island, Jersey. A remarkable place, a beautiful venue. Very, very excited about the action getting underway.
You guys don't get to race, but Ali, I know you've had a little swim this morning. Your hips obviously giving you trouble, but you got out there amongst the boats. How was it?
I'd love to be racing, but I managed to get in the water this morning as part of the corporate relay, which was a bit of fun. I think it's a great swim course. The water isn't too cold, it's pretty tight. You've got to avoid the boats on the way around, and I think everyone will love it.
Another island, another place with a lot of super yachts. I like that. You pick good spots for us to do this. But Vicky, you were going to see your course walk in a second. What do you think of the course? It's a technical one, a little different to Hamilton.
Yeah, a really technical bike course, 7 corners or U-turns each lap. 5 laps, that's 35 corners for each stage of the triple mix today. A lot of surging, and that's really going to hurt the legs.
All right, we're going to see each of you guys out. Ali, you'll be in commentary, and Vicky, you'll be down in transition, which is going to be incredibly exciting for you. We'll be stuck up here in the commentary box in the studio, but still plenty to look forward to, and we're going to take you through absolutely everything step by step, so you don't miss a minute of the action. Right now, we're going to have a look back at exactly what happened in Hamilton Island. There was plenty of pain and plenty of elation too.
It was something never seen before. The most watched triathlon in history, and Super League Hamilton Island in the heart of Australia's Great Barrier Reef did not disappoint. First up came the triple mix, 3 stages, 3 different orders. The first to suffer, Olympic champion Alistair Brownlee, who was in for a tough weekend. Tasmanian Jake Birtwistle took stage 1, and he would lead as stage 2 got underway. But with the swim last, no one could catch superfish Richard Varga.
It looks as though Richard Varga is going to do the job. In stage 2 of the triple mix, Richard Varga wins a race.
Varga dominated the swim again in stage 3, but there were plenty chasing. Ryan Bailey did manage to run him down, but Richard Murray was too strong for them all.
Big smiles across the South African's face. The veteran has done it here in stage 3, and he's very happy about it as well.
After 12 hours rest, it was on to the equaliser. A 6-kilometre morning time trial with a maximum gradient of 24%. Ouch. Colorado native Cameron Dye posted the early mark. However, he was upstaged by some local wildlife. Dye led the field into the afternoon's pursuit-style swim-run and swim-bike-run. But it was Birtwistle first out of the water, and he was soon caught by Murray and Spanish superstars Javier Gomez and Mario Mola, with Murray waiting until the final run to kick into gear.
The big crowd very happy to see Richard Murray do it once again. He's going to lift the tape. Richard Murray is the winner of our equaliser.
That left Richard Murray 9 points clear coming into day 3's eliminator of 3 swim, bike, run stages. It was keep up or go home, and the pressure told.
Oh, there's your first crash.
One already. Ben Shaw is down.
Christian Blumenfeld took the first stage, with Dye among 9 names to be eliminated. That left 15 back in the water for stage 2, with all the big names making it safely through for the final shootout. Ryan Fisher opened up a huge lead coming into the final run, with Murray, Birtwistle and Mola running him down, and it was the Aussie who kicked for home.
He's left the world champion for dead. Jacob Birtwistle wins the eliminator in a huge run. Richard Murray is going to do the job and go home with $100,000.
So it was Richard Murray who finished Super League Hamilton Island as champion, $100,000 richer, and with a points lead to defend here at Super League Jersey.
What a great weekend it was, and we're about to do it all again. A lovely shot there of Elizabeth's Castle as Jersey has turned on such a beautiful day. A lot to expect for the UK in September, but there you go. Here's the weekend schedule. Up next, of course, the men's triple mix, the same as on Friday at Hamilton. And then the women, for the first ever time, will be taking on Super League with their triple mix at 4 p.m. British summertime. And then on Sunday, that is tomorrow, of course, we switch the order. The women's eliminator and then the men's eliminator, and then we crown our champion from round 1 in Jersey. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for that. A huge amount of action, 8 hours live on air. We'll take you through all of it right now. Let's have a look at the course maps as well. This is a very interesting course, a very technical one as well. Let's start with the swim. We go 130 out to the buoy amongst the super yachts we talked about, and then 2 tight turns, but it's a unique one.
And relatively cool the water, about 17 degrees, so that'll be something the athletes have to look at. 2 left-hand turns, the last one being quite tight indeed.
We've got a very narrow run up into transition. It's probably 1, maybe 2 wide, so hopefully no slow runners there to get stuck behind someone. And then we move into what is, as Vicky said, quite a tough and technical off-camber, different surfaces as well on the bike and the run.
7 turns, they've come out of transition. The first turn's quite tight and small, but then they open up on this sharp left-hander at the top here. That's probably the fastest section of the bike course. Off-camber turn there, all cobblestone, so could be treacherous.
It really sort of favours the explosive rider, isn't it? Because there's a lot of tight turns, as you say, and then Got to take off quick.
You know, 7 turns per lap, that's 35 turns for the total bike course.
All right, and it might be flat, but it's going to be very, very difficult. The run is the same as the bike, so great for spectators here, and we're expecting a whole lot as Jersey. They love their sport.
And the first part of this run's a slight uphill, so it allows the back section of the run will be slightly downhill. It'll be interesting to see how this run unfolds. Same, as you said, same run course as the bike course, but a straight shot to the finish.
Yeah, 5 laps on the bike, 2 laps on the run, and of course, all different orders. Now, Vicky was up here with us and is now down on the course. She's got a little course walk for us to give us some first-hand look at it all.
This is the swim exit ramp. They come out of the swim straight up this ramp. It's long, it's narrow, there's only maybe 2 athletes wide that can fit up here, and on top of that we've got rungs on the left-hand side. This could also get really slippy when it's wet. This is the first swim turn. We're 130 metres from the start pontoon, and the athletes will arrive at this point within 1 minute and 30 seconds of the start. They'll then have to negotiate a sharper than 90-degree turn, and they will be jostling for positions here. Expect it to get messy. So not only is this the swim exit ramp, it also acts as the entry ramp on 2 stages of the triple mix. The gradient is going to really play a factor here. It's so steep, the athletes are going to come flying down here, and they're going to have to show some caution. This is the first corner of the bike course where the athletes will come to when they're carrying any kind of speed at all. The angle of this corner is greater than 90 degrees. They're going to be changing road surfaces and have to be very mindful of the fact that athletes may be coming in the other direction, so they can't go over the midsection of the road. This is potentially the most dangerous corner on the bike course. The athletes will come down this downhill gradient, round this sharp 90-degree corner. They'll have to negotiate a change of road surface. Even though this bollard won't be here on the day, this drain cover will, and drama could happen right here.
Drain covers, tight corners, the athletes are ready, the weather is perfect, the course is brutal, but the format, Macca, is certainly one of the stars of the show. We had the triple mix in Hamilton and we have it right again here. First up, the men have done this before, but the women for the first time. 3 stages, swim, bike, run, then run, bike, swim, then bike, swim, run. So there's plenty to think about. 10 minutes in between each one. Now in Hamilton, everyone started each stage at the same time, but this time it's a pursuit.
It's a pursuit format at the end now, so we're going to see the winner of the stage 3 will be actual winner of the race. So it'll be a very, very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, people are going to be stuck there waiting and watching people disappear from in front of them. If anyone falls 90 seconds or more behind, they are eliminated from the triple mix. The same will be said for the eliminator tomorrow. Now, it's time to look at the men to watch. I know you're going to give us some tips in just a second, but let's have a look now at some of the big names. There is a huge amount of talent in this men's field, as there is in the women's field. We'll get to that later on, as I said. But it's hard. We were discussing this just before, having a bit of lunch, discussing who we think is going to win, and I actually have no idea. What do you think?
Well, I think Mario Mola is going to be very, very difficult to beat here. He looks very, very relaxed. He's come off a spectacular year, defended his world championship. Look for him to be very, very strong. Jonathan Brownlee, he really wants to avenge the race that his brother had on Hamilton Island. He showed some late season form, had a quiet year. But Christian Blumenfeld in particular, the Norwegian, he was very, very good in Hamilton Island. At late, he's been spectacular form. He's very, very strong, and this type of course will suit him a lot.
He hates coming second, and he's come second in the last 3 WTS races.
Yeah, and they just look in good form. Richard Murray, not so much, but I'm happy to be surprised.
All right, well, Richard Murray, of course, is our champion. We're going to keep, as we're seeing a few more of the heli shots here, the athletes getting ready.
It's amazing. It's finally here. The anxiety in the hotel's been very, very hot, but it's showtime.
It certainly is showtime. Obviously, Richard Varga would have run the triple mix had he been in a pursuit style. As we now see the guys line up. The slot draw was an interesting one too, wasn't it?
It always is the slot draw for Super League Triathlon. The athletes get to draw their competitors out of the field and out of a hat and position where they're going to be on the start line. And in this race in particular, slot position number 1 is the most beneficial start position.
All right, we're going to have a look now at how some of the start draw worked out. We made the men choose each other's positions on the pontoon, so there was plenty of rivalries.
That red will cause, I think, 100%. You will hit 100% up that red.
Right, big me out. Jake Birtwistle picked himself, but there were a lot of people who were not too kind on each other.
Well, that always seems to be the case. We're hoping there'll be a lot of people who are a lot more evil with each other and put people in bad positions. But Jake, being the guy he is, he's pulled out number 1, put himself in the best start position.
Probably going to get you about a body length if you're at number 1 on the pontoon or at the far end, as we see on the shot right now, versus the other end, and that's a lot.
Yeah, 1.7 metres difference between that first turning can, which is the most important turning can in the swim course, between slot number 1, where Jake Birtwistle is, and the 25th start position.
Also important to be, next to someone who's quick.
Oh, without question, to set your whole race up.
A lovely wide shot there, as we can see the crowds certainly building, and we knew they'd turn out, and the weather's turned on too.
Oh, it's fantastic. When we planned this course, we had to set up a completely new fan zone, which is at the northern end of the course, up near that sharp left-hand turn on the bike course. They're expecting 6,000 to 7,000 people down here in Jersey today.
Which is what, 10% of the population?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the start list right now. Jake Birtwistle, as we said, in number 1. Tyler Mislachuk, who's been a little bit ill, alongside Jonathan Brownlee. Daniel Hawksworth, our wild card from right here in Jersey. He's a very nervous man. Richard Varga, the superfish, look for him on the swim. Henry Schumann as well, also very, very, very strong in the water. And Ben Dykstra, who is only 18, doing his A-levels this year and fitting this in. As we see Christian Blumenfeld in number 12 position alongside Dmitry Polyansky, another great swimmer from Russia. Richard Murray, our champion, and Mario Mola, the world champion, are next to each other in 15 and 16. We move further down the order. Ryan Fisher from Australia is having a very strong season in 70.3 racing. Fernando Alatha and Ryan Sissons there in the 20th position. As we round it out with a couple of Aussies there, Ryan Bailey, Matt Hauser and Aaron Royal. Matt Hauser, the junior world champ. Igor Polyansky and Andreas Schilling, who was the first man called out and therefore got number 25, the furthest one from the boy on the running order. It's going to be fantastic, isn't it?
But if anyone can come for that position and go well, it's Andreas Schilling. Very, very good swimmer, very, very good biker.
Fantastic days. We can see a lovely shot from up high there of Elizabeth Bay Marina. We're about to get into the action. It's going to be a fantastic one. The stage is set for the triple mix. 6 months wait, and here it is.
Thanks, Will. We've got the weather, as you say. We've certainly got the star-studded field. And alongside me, we've got 2 people who won everything there is to win in this sport. Olympic champion, triple world champion and Commonwealth Games champion, Emma Snowsill, the double world and Olympic champion, Alistair Brownlee. I'm going to come to you first, Ali. Richard Murray won on Hamilton Island. Conditions different to today. It looks nearly impossible to call a winner, and that's exactly how we like it.
Absolutely, I know even I might be a bit biased, but it's really, really difficult to call the winner here. Not only has everyone's form been up and down all year, post-Olympic year, we haven't seen any consistency really from many of the athletes, and this is a completely different format. So, the World Series final in Rotterdam last week, all these guys raced, but this is a completely different race, so really hard to predict anything.
Any fancies, Emma?
Look, I think, it's exactly, we're in a totally new format. Some athletes have raced the World Series, some have taken little breaks, and you're going to have fatigue, which is something we didn't probably have in Hamilton Island.
Let's quickly go to Vicky Holler down on course, our course reporter. Tension building, Vicky, no doubt, just seconds before the start.
Yeah, that's right. We're down here on the pontoon. All the athletes getting ready to go. We've got Jacob Birtwistle drew himself at slot 1. We've got Mario and Richard at 15 and 16. And then as we go to the end, we've got Andreas Schilling, who was unfortunately given spot 25. Got a little bit further to swim, but maybe he can stay out of trouble wide on the outside.
Getting set then, 24 of them. Tyler Mislachuk not in this field. He is is out ill, unfortunately, but we still have a massive amount of talent. Richard Murray defending the title that he won on Hamilton Island way back in March. Will it be easier or harder to defend it than it was to win it? We'll find out over the course of the next 2 days. 3 stages, remember, today for the men. Then the eliminator tomorrow. It's a reasonably clean start. There are time penalties, all kinds of penalties for the full start of the swim. You have to start last after that. You're relegated to last position. It's 130 metres to the swim, boy. Ali, you must have been pretty pleased with your brother's position. He got 3 thanks to Alessandro Fabian's generosity, I guess you would say. That's a pretty good start position for John.
Yeah, to be honest, it's an age-old argument whether you want to be inside or outside. It depends on the kind of swimmer you are, and we can see the 2 guys on the inside there, Bert Whistle and Johnny, kind of next to each other, swimming really well. And I actually can't see Richard Varga coming at the front yet, which is an interesting one. But yeah, it's an argument. Johnny's got the inside line, but to be honest, I don't agree with what the guys were saying earlier. I agree that you know, if you're a good swimmer, you want clean water on the outside, and even if it is a metre further, I've taken that gamble loads of times in my career.
Yeah, it certainly sometimes can pay off, you know, exactly like you said, Alistair, just to have that clear water, to be able to swim your own pace and not to have anybody sitting on your hips, sitting on your feet and just dragging you down, and you know, that advantage so-called at the start pontoon, yes, okay, maybe slightly, the shortest line, but at the end of the day, you know, that can all come undone when you round that can.
How brave do you have to be? It's a good drawn, good qualified right there. This is Shalik Poliansky back to Roy Wilson. Those last 2 good swimmers. Are you going to be brave enough to try and come across, or just accept you're going to have to swim a bit further than those drawn inside?
Well, you can't really predict what's going to happen. You know, if a couple of guys, 3 or 4 people to your left in this case, have a slow start, you can probably get across pretty easily. Or if you're really fast, like Varga's case, it's the best place to be, and it's far better than having someone on your hip or having to change your course. So it's not necessarily about brave. You know, so many things about triathlon, people put contact with and decisions, but you only know what's going to go on in the race circumstances. You've got no chance of judging. You see, this is Bert Whistle and Johnny Taylor, the 2 inside, the 1-2, nothing there. I would imagine Bert Whistle went out really hard that first 150, he came very good now. And Johnny to start leading around this next voyage.
Well, Bert Whistle, who's had a really good season, he did have to pull out the grand final after the swim. He was ill, but in general, he's been performing pretty well. And Johnny Brownlee also. It's been a kind of an up-and-down season for Johnny, Alistair, with injuries and illness. Where is he in terms of race fitness?
He's had a tough year. You know, not only is it a post-Olympic year where we both committed a lot of time to things away from training last winter, both to have a rest and other reasons, but he's just been unlucky. He's had injuries, he's had illnesses, and it's just been one of those years that's been bitty and tough for him. But he's leading this swim now. He's unfortunately got Bert Whistle right on his hip, which is slowing him down. You know, tactically they should be at least swimming apart to spread this race out as quick as they possibly can, rather than slowing each other down and making it easier for people behind them. But that is the tactics of triathlon.
I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, do you speak to each other even though you're not racing? I mean, when you know you're both well known for working together in this sort of circumstance, but do you think you would have spoken to Jake and say, look, you know, if we do have this position, are we going to try and work together, or you just think that you know your brother well and he wants to do his own race?
Yeah, I mean, he wants to do his own race. He wouldn't ask for my advice too much, I don't think. He's too close to me. And he won't have spoken to Jake. You know, like I was just talking about before, it's almost impossible to call exactly what's going to go on, especially in such a short race. It should just be understood that if you're next to each other like that, you don't want to be on each other's hips, because you're slowing each other down. You're making it easy for the Richard Murrays and Mario Molders behind you. And be interesting to see how much it splits up this very, very steep incline up to transition now, and so many people close, all falling over on each other.
João Pereira took a bit of a tumble. They found it hard to get out the water, so up the ramp they go. Bert Whistle and Brownlee were the first 2 out. There's Johnny.
Yeah, really good swim for Johnny and Bert Whistle. Henry Schumann next, Ryan, Barnett, Hauser, Poliansky, Ben Knutso and Royal. So, you know, some really strong bikers. Richard Varga back there in 5th or 6th, so he's struggled there a bit on that swim.
That's not a place we've ever really seen him, is it?
We don't see that very much.
I mean, you know him well. Is the temperature of the water, obviously it's still a short swim, but it is cool to not be wearing a wetsuit.
It is cold not to be wearing a wetsuit. 3.5 minutes, I think, you know, you're probably going to be okay. I don't think that's the reason. I imagine someone dived in on top of him in the start of the swim, and we didn't see him there from the start, which is one of the interesting things. You know, normally within 3 or 4 strokes, I've swum next to him 1,000 times and I can't get anywhere close to him. So he's so quick over those first few strokes.
Well, already under pressure, some big names. Mola and Murray and Blumenfeld, all with plenty in front of them as they head off on the bike. It's 5K, so 5 laps of a 1 kilometre course as we are head on with Brownlee, a swimmer who always swims very consistently, but you can see already how narrow it is, and that's going to make it tricky for those at the back, including the likes of Mola Murray.
Yeah, really tricky for the guys who aren't in the front 4 or 5. You know, hopefully we see them really commit, and I know Johnny will be absolutely committing to this first 2 or 3K and then sit up and maybe see what's going on. If some of those guys are on the red line from the swim, getting out of the water and on the first part of the bike, he's just going to hurt them at these corners, which, you know, we can see he's just committing 100% now, what he needs to do. And even if Mola and Murray are only 5 seconds back at this point, he's going to be putting them under pressure and making them work for it.
How tricky is it, Emma, in terms of, you can't go full gas, surely, can you, in the first stage? Because if you've got to win this thing, there are 6 different stages.
No, I truly think that that's what they need to do. I think, you know, they need to put the pressure on early, and people like Johnny, who are so accustomed to just, you know, the minute the gun goes, he puts everything out there, whether it's an Olympic distance event or whether it's this. And it's exactly like we said, you know, they have to put, with the rest, let's put it this way, you know, they have to put the hurt into them now. I mean, of course the races are broken up and they have this so-called 10-minute break, but that really doesn't count for much. So he just wants to build lactate. He wants to hurt these other athletes as soon as he can. I mean, he's known for doing it, but I think now is even a better opportunity for him to show that he's a real strength athlete.
Yeah, Johnny will know the harder he can make it from the off. You know, even if he's making himself tired, he's making everyone else tireder. And he's just going for it. We actually saw him there, the motorbike getting in the way. He was yelling at the motorbike, so the motorbike wasn't going fast enough around the corners for him. So he's trying to get that out of the way, and he's just taking it on. I mean, no one else has come to the front yet, and he might not need anyone actually on a course this tight. It's going to be interesting to see. And there's already guys, you know, Cajales could be out the race now.
Well, there is a rule, 90-second rule. If you're 90 seconds behind at any stage, you are taken out the race and not as at the stage, and you won't be able to race again today. So no one wants to be there. Richard Murray actually has made up some time. He was 10 seconds adrift out the water. He's halved that deficit, so good work from the South African.
Yeah, Richard Murray's on the back of that group of 2, 4, 6 man there, so the front group. And yeah, he's very good, traditionally very good out the water on that first lap. Technically a great bike rider as well, so this course will suit him. And he's made it technically, and I think that, I'm not sure who's out in the front, but someone else pushing it, I think could well be Canute possibly. He's a great bike rider as well, but Johnny knows technically he's good and very clinical, and will be pushing, not only to make it hard, but trying to force mistakes out of some of the other guys here.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, would Johnny let somebody that he knows, you know, is not maybe as technically great as he is on the bike, you know, to take any risk on a course like this?
No, if he sees someone who's not as good as him in front of him, he'll be wanting to get around him very quick, you know. One of the big things we say a lot is to win often, and to win on a one-day thing like the Olympic Games, you've got to take everything into your own hands, so you don't want that kind of person in front of you, and these things will be going through his mind. That's definitely Ben Canute there. Had a fantastic race a couple of weeks ago in the World 7.3s in Chattanooga. Fantastic bike rider, and has been good, doing well in the WTS series as well, so Johnny couldn't have a better person there riding with him.
Yeah, he was second to Javier Gomez in that 70.3 World Championship, and we've also seen him in the past race really well in the short format in the World Mixed Team Relay for the United States.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the interesting things about the Mixed Team Relay and this format is, although we talk about it being short and fast, actually it's sometimes a much better test of an all-round triathlete than Olympic distance, because people get exposed. You know, we see people who might not have a great swim or a bike get exposed because, you know, not only are people going full on, but it splits up. You know, people have to swim on their own sometimes, people have to ride on their own, and when that happens, you know, people gaps open, and people might have to ride 5 or 6K on their own, and suddenly if you're not a good bike rider, it shows.
Decent crowds. We reckon 6,000 to 7,000 lining the course. We reckon also around about 3,000 or 4,000 have actually flown in for this event from either, well, predominantly Great Britain, but also from France as well, where the sport is extremely popular with all the club events that they have there.
Yeah, we're very close, very wide away from Brittany, and anyone who's done triathlon for a long time knows that Brittany's a real heartland of triathlon with French Grand Prix races and World Cups and all sorts over the years, so it couldn't be a better place for a race, I don't think.
Do you think that the Europeans have some sort of advantages? I mean, you have, like you said, the French Grand Prix, the German Bundesliga. I mean, do these play into the hands of athletes that race these sort of conditions before, these sorts of styles?
Yeah, I think, Europeans are possibly a bit more used to racing. I think we're a bit more used to different formats. And I think there's just more of a culture of swimming, cycling, running different things. A lot of us have grown up doing bike races, did a lot of cyclocross races, crit races, so we've just got that background in different types of racing that I think is good. We're actually seeing most of it kind of come back together now. There's not massive gaps anymore, but the interesting thing is how much damage it's doing on some of these guys who are just kind of hanging off the back as the elastic is stretching and they just make it back on.
Well, there's parts of this course that the allure of seeing the group just there. I mean, obviously it motivates you to try and tack onto that group in front of you, but it's like you said, at what expense does that come?
Yeah, so on the front of that second pack there, there's Christian Blumenfeld and Schilling. They're both great bike riders, technically good, and the kind of riders that are aggressive are going to take it on. So they're effectively bringing it back to this front group. With Johnny's the only one who's done pretty much anything.
Yeah, there's a group of around about 9 within 2 seconds of each other. Brownlee, Birtwhistle, Royal Hauser, Canute, Murray, Schumann and Fisher and Bailey, the 2 Aussies, have got on the end of that leading group as well.
Yeah, I think Johnny's just sat up there and thought, right, like I said, he's done the first 2 or 3K and thought, I've pushed it, pulled it out, see what's going to happen. There's no point doing it for the whole race and set up, and that's why we're seeing someone else on the front, and that's actually Aaron Royal and Hauser and then Birtwhistle and Johnny just behind him, so he'll be very comfortable riding behind Aaron Royal. Trains with him a lot and knows he's a very technically decent bike rider.
I'll just ask you about Henry Schumann, Ali, because he's in that leading group. Obviously he had a phenomenal Olympics, he won the dramatic grand final where you and your brother were centre stage as well, but this season hasn't quite gone as well as he would have wanted. Is that kind of like post-Olympic syndrome to a degree?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a post-Olympic effect, and we'll talk about this as well. You spend so much time focusing on that event, and rightly so. It really is the highlight of the triathlon calendar, and that's all I've ever really wanted to do in my career. But there's got to be a flip side to that as well, and I think you do quite often see that. You realise you've raced the same World Series races for 8, 9, 10 years, and there is just a kind of a psychological effect to that. But I think he had a good year last year, but his tactics were spot on. He did the right thing. He knew, right, my only way of getting a result is swimming in the front pack, sitting at the back of the bike pack and hoping no one notices, and then I'll run all right. And I think some of the other guys have got a bit wise to it. I think he's tried to move his running on, and it's cost his swimming. We haven't seen him swim as well. And it's just getting that balance right is the constant struggle that every triathlete is trying to deal with, really.
Johnny was back at the front there momentarily.
Yeah, he's pushing it on here. I think this is a bit of a rise on the course out of that roundabout, and every time he's working out of there, so he knows he's going to be hurting the people who are coming out that corner a metre or 2 gaps on the bike and pushing it hard, as well as the fact that the motorbike isn't too far in front of him, which always gives a bit of an advantage.
Well, also, there's starting to be a significant distance first to last, and if you're towards the rear of the field, you've got to be a bit concerned, even though it's early stages in this day.
It's an elastic band, and the further back you are, the more energy it costs you to keep up with those front runners. You're not braking, and you're braking and accelerating far more at the back than you are at the beginning of that group. And of course, these tactical riders and experienced riders all know that it's small energy conservation. It's very clever on their part, and it's just aggressive racing, and they know what they need to do, where they need to be at every point in this race.
So off the bike stand with just a 2-kilometre run to go in this first stage, first of 3 today, and whoever comes out on top will end up with 25 points to carry into tomorrow when we go into the Eliminator. Brown exactly where he wants to be, good swim, good bike.
Yeah, we've seen Matty Hauser who's first into transition there, although he wasn't on the front of the bike at all, which is a bit cheeky, but from first out, so he's a great transition, can kind of relax these first 400 or 500 metres while some of these guys push on. It's going to be interesting to see where Mario Moller is here, just the back of the group. He was the one hanging off, had 5 metre gap for most of that bike ride, so I would have expected to see that's probably hurt him a little bit.
Does someone of his age, he's come off a junior world title just last weekend, does he go into this thinking, you know what, I've got nothing to lose? Maybe he's not even overthinking it.
Yeah, I think everyone's got to think a bit like that, you know. I think you've got to get in a race and make the decisions on the fly and not worry about it too much beforehand. And yeah, of course, he's got to see how he goes. He's a big lad, you know. These kind of short events should suit him as much as anything else.
Johnny Brownlee up front, sorry, so Johnny Brownlee up front with the imposing figure of Blumenfeld. Richard Murray right there as well, so that's a good recovery from the defending champion after an average swim, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, what Johnny will be trying to do here with the next event coming up is he'll just be trying to expose people. So he knows that if he can get this run group down to 2 or 3 there, when it starts on the pursuit format next time, there's still only 2 or 3 of them, and then he gets only 2 or 3 on the bike and is on the swim with only 2 or 3 of them. You know, he can get people out and take people out of the race.
Well, this is bold from Richard Murray. Gone to the front now from Brownlee and Blumenfeld.
Yeah, these guys are pushing it on. Richard Murray's pushing it on with Blumenfeld there in 3rd, and I just saw on that last corner we saw Mario Mola back in about 10th place, probably the best part of 10 seconds down. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can recover it on this run and then the next run, because we basically have 4K of run now with a 10-minute rest in between.
Indeed, and just to remind everyone, the next stage is going to be run, bike, swim. We mix the order around.
And I think what the important part here is that what we haven't seen is the way these guys start. And I think this is what Alistair was probably really trying to explain, is exposing the weaknesses of these other athletes. It's drawing them out, because they are going to have some parts of these next 2 races where they could be on their own. You know, they're starting out on their own. There's no such thing as sitting on it at someone's, you know, wheel as soon as you get onto the bike, or sitting on someone's hip on the swim. So, you know, there's so much going on within this racing, and I think this is just absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, the tactics are fascinating. You know, we could hypothesize about the tactics literally all day, and we're never quite going to know what's going through their minds. But yeah, I do know definitely that Johnny will just be trying to break it up and expose athletes' weaknesses. He knows that if Richard Murray is on a swim on his own, you know, he could put 10 seconds into him, and that could, at the end of the day, small margins could be the big result.
Well, these 4 have got themselves a little gap. It's Richard Murray from Brownlee, Blumenfeld and Schoeman, and then a gap back to the chasers. You'll see the exact time as they come past here. This is first lap of 2. So they've got themselves about a 7 or 8 second advantage at the moment.
Yeah, Richard Murray's really pushing it on there, and you know, just starting to get a bit of a gap to those other guys. We see Henry Schumann's definitely lost those front 3 as well, and the race is completely split up already. You know, 20 seconds between the first 15. That's fantastic racing and great to see.
Ben Canute, who was right up there on the bike, just finding the pace a bit too hot to handle on the run. That's young Ben Dykstra from Great Britain, a huge up-and-coming talent.
Yeah, Ben's a fantastic talent, really class runner, English schools champion many times over, which is, you know, a big deal in Britain, and a great swim biker too. He's just got a great racing attitude. He loves it. You can see him out on the race course enjoying it, and he is definitely one to watch over the next few years.
Murray making this a real test. Schoeman finding it a bit hard to go with that leading trio now. Murray, Brownlee and Blumenfeld, and you can see the gap back. Mario Mola just about coming into shot here.
Yeah, this race is actually blown apart already, completely blown apart.
A lot more than I was already expecting.
Yeah, it's been aggressive racing. We didn't actually see Hamilton Island be that aggressive. I mean, it felt aggressive for me, but it wasn't when you saw the fact that 20 guys were coming off the bike together. Whereas this, you know, split straight up, very aggressive. And these guys know that you know, they can make the difference in the early stages of this race.
Well, anyone who thought it was going to be cagey and tactical on the run has been proved completely wrong, because this leading trio have got away now from Schoeman and the rest, and those at the back are potentially in big trouble here.
Yeah, big gaps, and I think, to be honest, Murray looks like a man possessed here and is pushing hard, but they'll all know that effectively, like I said, this is a 2K run, 10-minute break, 2K run. So they don't want to absolutely go flat out here, because, you know, you can do a lot of damage in 2K. They need to recover, and they need to be ready for that next 2K. And yeah, Burt Whistle, 2 big names. Burt Whistle and Mole are back here already. You know, it's going to be tough for them to make that up. Yeah,
Rahala's also suffering. I don't think too many expected the likes of Burt Whistle to be this far off the pace. We've seen how well he's run this year, but Murray, Blumenfeld and Brownlee, that trio, have done serious damage here on stage 1. They've only got a few hundred metres to go, and then they'll be into their first 10-minute rest period ahead of the run, bike, swim lane.
It'll be interesting to see if any of them push it on over these last few hundred metres, just to see if they can get a second advantage. Make that first few hundred metres of the next run that a little bit easier. But now I think they're all pretty close, just taking a slightly different line around the corner there. Sometimes it's a bit tough running on this kind of surface, the brick surface, but obviously they're all managing fine, and I think these guys will just be towing that line now, trying to not push too much, but make sure they're maintaining and growing that gap.
So they're just approaching the finish line then. Murray with a little look back, and he'll see Blumenfeld and Bradley right there on his heels.
He does a lot of looking back. Well, he has been doing a lot of looking back. I'm not entirely sure what he's looking for, because you'll be able to hear how close they are, and there's so many corners you can look back. I think these guys will be, not going max out here, but will be trying to make sure they finish as close to each other as possible. There's obviously no advantage in winning this stage at all, but you don't want to give anyone even a 2 second lead. So yeah, there you go. Murray's done exactly the right thing there, eased off and let someone else win the battle, but maybe lose the war. We'll see.
Okay, well, we will do very shortly. Skuman comes in fourth. We'll just check exactly what that gap is. 11 seconds. A bit of a sprint on for Mario Moda's got him within 15, but still significant, along with Jay Birtwistle. Matt Hauser, 18 seconds adrift. Aaron Royal, similarly. And you go further down, you can just see how this field has been ripped apart. Ryan Bailey is a pretty tidy runner in his own right. It's nearly half a minute adrift.
Yeah, absolutely been ripped apart, and I think that was all down to the aggressive racing of the guys at the start of the bike there. That's all that happened. So fantastic to see that. This is what we want to see in triathlon. We want to see people race over the swim, bike and run. It's three sports, and now you've got to remember that they're starting another 2K run, which gives a chance to absolutely blow apart again in only 10 minutes time.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing, isn't it, to see what happens at the start of that run, whether the same trio can keep laying it down to the opposition. You think they're going to certainly try. Grajales coming in, these guys really suffering.
And Ben Shaw there, yeah, I'm not sure how far they're back now, but I know there is a 90 seconds exclusion limit, so if you go over 90 seconds in any of the races, you're effectively out, to make sure that there's no lapping going on, because obviously you can't have lapping on such a short course.
Ryan Sissons is 48 seconds back, Dimitri Poliansky similar, Richard Varga 55 seconds back, and Igor Poliansky nearly a minute.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be tough for some of those guys to make it through this next second stage, to be honest. Going back to what you're saying about what do they do on this next run now, I think they've got to run just 1%. Dan Hawkes was just crossing the line there from Jersey. Some great local support. I think they've got to run just under 1% under the red line. They've got to push. They don't want to give any time away to those guys behind them. But then they've got to know that there's a bike and a swim that they're going to take pretty hard in the next two disciplines, and they can keep spreading it out.
So this is the start of their 10-minute recovery period. They all had kind of different ideas the best way to use it. Some will take some fluid on board. Some will maybe have one of those energy supplements that they take.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of they were worried about how cold they'd be, and coming out the cold water, and then, I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful day here in Jersey, but not necessarily as warm as some people might like it. But I get a feeling they're not looking that cold right now. A lot of them have zipped their suits down and are trying to get air to the bodies. They're just going through their transition checks again, because obviously your bike has to be in the right gear. You want your shoes in the right place, so you're not going to knock your shoes off your pedals. That could cost you 30 seconds at least, and that's pretty critical. And just getting a bit of hydration in. Hydration and nutrition is reasonably important in this kind of event, but not critical. 3 20-minute races, an hour of racing over the period of about an hour and 20 minutes. Nutrition and hydration is not probably going to be the thing that makes you win or lose here, but just important to keep on top of it with the knowledge that you've got another race coming tomorrow that you want to recover from as well as possible.
Okay, well, let's go and hear now from the reigning world champion. Mario Moda's 14 seconds adrift after that first stage. He's down with Vicky.
How did you feel about
trying to follow the line and stay as close as possible to get in front. But yeah, it was hard.
There's a long way to go yet. The triple mix is only just begun. It's not an instant marathon. Do you think you can got something left?
We'll see. We'll find out. I think you can still keep going. So that's what I try to do.
Okay, brilliant. We'll wish you all the best for the next stages.
That didn't sound to me the most confident Mario Mola I've ever seen.
No, definitely not. I mean, he didn't look his best there, I have to admit. And yeah, that's going to be pretty tough for him. That time gap now, he knows that the race is spread out. He knows that you could end up isolated and on your own at the back end of the run and on the bike. And that is a tough place for him to come back from.
Let's just check those results then. Blumenfeld, Brownlee and Murray, nothing between them. And there's nearly a quarter of a minute back to Mola and the rest. A fascinating first stage.
Well done, well done, well done. Yes, give it up for him, come on. Round number 2. This is where it starts to get very, very interesting. So we start off with the run on the position, depending on where they finished. Then it's a bike, finish with the swim. This is where the race...
Thank you, Trevor, Emma and Ali. What a call and what a race. We didn't expect there to be this much carnage early on. There were some very broken faces in the recovery zone. We're about to do it all again. Johnny Brownlee, you picked him. He pushed the pace from the beginning.
And you see how important the swim is. He got out very, very early, as Alistair said in the commentary. He set himself up, that run-up transition, an early break on the bike, very, very aggressive, and it was so strung out.
It was so strung out on the second stage, as Ali mentioned. I mean, we've got a 90-second elimination cutoff. We're going to see some people fall foul of that. Certainly, Christian Blumenfeld, how strong is he?
He bridged that gap. He brought that second group up to the first group in the ride. He looked very, very strong. His run's spectacular. Be interesting to see how he goes with the swim now ending this second stage of the triple mix.
Mario Mola, a renowned runner, of course, the world champion, and he was panicked. You could see the panic on his face as he needed to make that gap up on the run. He did manage to do that, but he still finds himself 15 seconds or so back.
He really struggled on that bike ride. He was always at the back, every single corner. He seemed to struggle with those two right-handers at the far end of the bike course, and he paid for it on the run. He was definitely the fastest runner on course. He made a lot of ground up, but those three boys off the front were very, very conservative and saving for the business end of this race.
Quick thought on Murray. He did it again.
He looked brilliant. He looked brilliant. He's been playing a poker face all week. He looked very, very good today.
All right, there's going to be some serious pain in the second stage of the triple mix. It won't be long until we'll find about all of that. All right, we are about to see the start list for stage 2 of the triple mix, and I'm sure there's a few athletes who will be wishing that there was no stage 2 of the triple mix because they've left it all out there already, and it won't be long until we do see that list. But there is some guys that look excellent and some guys that look like they weren't quite ready for this.
We had that second group on the run. If you had a look, there was Jacob Birtwistle, who seemed to be struggling a little bit. I was expecting a lot more from him. If you remember Hamilton Island, he was very, very good at this format. He didn't look red hot today. Aaron Royal, who's just coming back to form, but that Australian group joined by Schilling and now Mola will be interesting to see how they go with Schoeman sort of in no man's land between that front and second group.
Yeah, it was, and it makes it a lot harder when you're racing a little bit on your own and seeing people disappear in front of you. Let's have a look at the start list as it stands for round 2. Of course, we go in order of how it finished with Blumenfeld so strong, holding off Richard Murray, who's very smart and tactical. Jonathan Brownlee, then 10 seconds. Henry Schoeman will have to wait, and then 14 for Mario Mola. Birtwistle, Schilling, Hauser, Royal, Fabian will all go off very close to each other, which will be handy for them as they try and track down the leaders. A little bit further back, we might, there's a whole bunch of people there who are stuck, and a few people all the way out the back. But we're going to go back to our commentary right now. Trevor Harris alongside Emma Snowsill and Ali Brownlee.
Will. Positions further down the field. Richard Varga, I wouldn't imagine he'd have expected to be a minute back, Ali.
No, I mean, I think it's a tough one for him. We saw from the dive, after 10 strokes, you'd normally expect him to see him a body length clear, and we didn't see that. So I think from those early strokes, maybe he's felt a bit off and a bit of a struggle. Like we've said, it's a tough time of year. You know, it's a long season, starting all the way back in Hamilton Island, encompassing all the W2S series races, finishing last week in Rotterdam, and then to be here. So, you know, some of these guys, it might be a bit unpredictable if you're having a good or a bad day.
So what do you think the tactics are going to be now from Blumenfeld, Murray and your little brother? What are they going to try and do first off on the run?
Well, I keep saying that these good guys are just going to want to exclude people from the race, and that's evidently what they're going to do. How hard they take this run is going to be interesting. I think we saw Murray go pretty deep there, and the others have to go pretty deep to hang on to him. So whether he's going to run this on that red line or just below it is going to be interesting to see. Whether they finish, the three of them, finish the run together is going to be interesting. I think if it was me, just to be safe, if you pushed on in the last kilometre, so you could jump on the bike with even a couple of seconds lead, have the guys with you in the red and push it on, put them under pressure over those first few K. That would be the ideal scenario. So we'll see if any of them try to get a jump over the last kilometre of the run. But we've got to remember they finished with the swim, and the swimming on their own. After 15 minutes of flat-out racing, you could lose 15 or 20 seconds in only 300 metres.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest to you, that in Johnny's head, is he thinking, OK, if I can stay with Murray and Blumenfeld on the run, on the bike, you've got to fancy on all known form he could outswim both of them over 300 metres.
Yeah, I would expect Johnny to outswim both of them comfortably in the last 300 metres. Christian Blumenfeld is a pretty good swimmer. Richard Murray is his swimming's OK, but he'd be the first one to say it's definitely his weakness. So yeah, Johnny's head, he'll be going, if I'm there at the end of the bike, I can steal 10 seconds here, and that would be fantastic. That said, he's going to want to push it on as well. He's going to want to push it on the bike today. They've just started, but a bit of confusion at the start there.
Well, they were virtually together over the finish line. I don't think it makes too much odds. The three of them have got that advantage of around about 10 seconds over Henry Schoeman, and then the likes of Mario Mola and Jake Birtwistle. I was just saying to Ali, Emma, about the leading three. Let me put you in the running shoes of either Mario or Jake. What do you want to try and do to get back into this? Because you don't want that 10-second gap. So you don't want it to grow any more than that.
Oh, exactly. I mean, if I was Murray, I'd be worried. I mean, look at the calibre of the three that are out there. I mean, they know they've got that advantage already. All they want to do is just keep tightening that screw and try to extend it even further. And look, everybody's got fatigue. Everybody's got lactic acid running through their body right now. And it's just a matter of, who can try and talk the body into getting rid of it as quickly as possible.
I think Richard Murray just answered our question for us there. We just saw him fly past the commentary box looking like a man possessed and going as hard as he could. So he's taking this on. He might be thinking, I want to maximise the time to the guys behind, or he might be thinking, you know what, I fancy 5 seconds on these guys going onto the bike.
Well, that'll be interesting if that is the case, because we know how well Murray rides a bike. And just looking a bit further back, you saw one of the Polyansky brothers starting. There's our leading three. Nothing between them really. Murray, Blumenfeld, Brownlee round the roundabout. Yeah,
Murray's definitely pushing it there. That metre gap from Murray back to Blumenfeld is probably a bit more than you'd like to see it if you were in that group. So I think he's pushing it on and hurting them. And we'll just see over these next couple of K here. They're going hard, definitely, no doubt about it. They're not far off the red line at all, and they're going to be putting time into the guys behind them, or it's going to stay parity.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, what sort of pace, for the people, the die-hard runners out there, what pace is your brother running at?
I would estimate somewhere around 250k pace. Evidently, if he was running a 2k on the track fresh, it would be a fair bit faster. But we've got to count in the fact there's some pretty sharp corners here, cambers on the road, ups and downs, and it's a triathlon. They've done 2 events before the run before, and they've got 2 events after this, and so that'll just take the edge off the running. I mean, if they were running 2k as it was, they're all capable of running quick, I would have thought. 230k pace, no problem. 1500 metre, 345 kind of pace. So that's what you're kind of looking at, but you have to remember they're going to jump on the bike for the best part of 10 minutes, and then they've got to jump into the water with lactate everywhere in the body.
And how tough is it for Schoeman racing there on his own in 4th, Ali? Because the kind of course it is, with so many corners, it's hard for him to judge whether he's getting any closer or getting further away from that leading trio. Yeah,
it's really hard to judge until he gets back to the bit that we're on, the start-finish line transition area where it's straight and with a dead turn. He's in an interesting tactical position, actually, because he's got those guys not very far behind him who are probably going to catch him by the end of the run. Does he wait for them? Does he not? It would be interesting to know what's going through his mind. In my mind, I'd probably look at waiting for them over the 2k. So I just would run 2 or 3 seconds a kilometre off what I'd run normally. That would mean they would catch me, and then you've got a group to work with going onto the bike.
Mario Mola there looks to me, to the naked eye at least, to have made up a little bit of ground. on the likes of Skim. Jake Birtwhistle just racing behind Mario there.
Yeah, this is Mario Moller's strength, though. Running at the start of a race, those first 2K is absolutely class runner over these kind of distances. And this is definitely his strength, so he'll be trying to use that to the max, make up that time before he gets on the bike and then onto the swim where he's not quite as strong. But again, we're seeing it spread right out even more. I think athletes spread top 20 spread over the best part of a minute now, and massive gaps. That's a 200-meter gap from even more, 300 meters from the leaders back to Van Egden there.
Dijkstra just going through with Ryan Sissons, who had by a distance his best season on tour in 2017, even though he's just approaching 30. He probably won't thank me for reminding him. A little bit further back, Richard Varga.
Seeing these guys come through now, I mean, you said they're spread out, but I mean, at least that group with Moller, there was some sort of group that could possibly form on the bike and work together. I mean, these guys end up becoming, they're straggling by the time they get onto the bike, and probably never really, some of them maybe not used to even having to ride on their own. Yeah, definitely. There's people in triathlon in this race who will literally have never raced at the front of a race with no one in front of them in their careers, so that they don't want to be in that position, and they know it's dangerous to be in that position. And like I said, they don't want to be exposed, especially after running a max out 2K where the legs are already lactated up. You can't just rely on spinning your legs. You have to rely on being technically good. You have to rely on having a great pedal stroke. You have to rely on your power, and similar going into the swim, whereas normally you can just rely on a bit of freshness and spinning your legs. So these guys don't want to be exposed and in that position. They'll be looking around them, which is exactly why we were just talking about why it's an interesting call that Schumann's got to make. Does he wait for those guys or not?
Just tell you that Ben Shaw has been eliminated, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, out. It's not a great day for him, but yeah, I was pretty much there in Hamilton Island, so I kind of know what he's going through as well. It's not a fun place to be, is it? No, we saw the guys taking on water on that run, which is interesting, only over 2K, but I think that means that they know it's hard, they know they're pushing it on, and that they're just thinking of this as an hour of racing rather than just the 20-minute races, which is the right thing to do, and shows that they're not absolutely on the limit. So Richard Miller taking on water there shows that we all know that if you're running as hard as you can, you can't get the oxygen and water in at the same time. So it shows he's got a bit of spare capacity there.
I'm interested in both of your views on how difficult or not difficult it's going to be for these guys to adapt to an order they're not used to. So now we're going run onto the bike, and then we're going to get the swim after that. Is that going to cause many problems?
You feel absolutely awful. Yeah, I mean, of course, when you come to triathlon, the feeling of running off the bike alone is very unusual, and certainly takes some getting used to. But these guys never experience this in any racing they do other than this. So again, at least the blood is in the legs. That's one thing that's different than them going and diving into the water. So but yes, calves, quads now, all those predominant muscle groups are having to shift and shunt the blood around, and it just elevates the lactic acid in the whole of your body even that much more.
I think this could be the most interesting part of the race, to be honest. This first couple of minutes coming off that run, like you said, it's not going to be fun for any of them. There's going to be a lot of lactate floating around, and you've suddenly got to jump on and ride a bike and use a slightly different set of muscles. And we're seeing these gaps get massive. It was 22 seconds back to Schumann and Mario coming into that transition, so that gap has actually gone out of those first 2K to both of them. And Johnny and Christian Blumenfeld and Richard Murray are probably the three best cyclists, strongest, technically best cyclists over this kind of course. So I can only see this gap extending over this bike.
Well, it'll be interesting the first time we get to see the leaders again, because it just looked to me as though Murray might have had a better transition than either Johnny Brownlee or Blumenfeld, but it looks like they are still pretty much together as a trio.
Yeah, I think Murray did have a good transition. He's technically very, very clinical a lot of the time, so he might have just got a bit of a run on them there. But yeah, I expect the three of them here to work hard and push and race well together.
Let's have a little bit of a history, Richard Murray, of maybe not being the tidiest in transition. He's had a few time penalties down the years.
I think most of us have over the years. If you race enough, something's got to go wrong at some point, hasn't it?
The one that cost him big time in Hamburg a few years ago, but no problems today.
Yeah, one of the nice things about Super League actually is just that slightly more relaxed approach to it. Okay, if something isn't quite in your box, as long as it's not impeding other people, it doesn't matter too much, which is really refreshing, because you know, okay, if you're in transition and you get off and you throw your helmet at another athlete or you put it in their way, fair enough, you should be penalised for it. But if your wetsuit's half out of the box, I'm not convinced that that's a bad thing. Are you?
How tidy were you, Emma?
I was certainly in the era where those rules didn't exist, and I totally agree. I think, you know, there's heat of racing, there's things that, you know, you're not thinking about, that the corner of your wetsuit is tucked in. But again, you know, I think all within fair limits, and this sort of racing, I mean, yeah, you have to be quick, you have to be methodical in your transitions, and I think the sort of people that have come from ITU, you know, somewhat do benefit in those sort of circumstances, but there has to be that fine line between, you know, what's in the heat of the moment for the racing or what's actually deliberate.
Yeah, we actually just saw that gap go out even further there. So from 28 seconds in a lap, 6 seconds in just over a K of cycling. So it shows us, firstly, that these guys are pushing and are going. Secondly, that the run has taken more out of the guys behind and they're not going as fast. So we could expect this gap to probably go out and grow over the next few laps. These guys are working well together. We saw Richard Murray take most of the first lap, Christian Blumenfeld on the second lap. Tactically, I don't know whether Johnny will be thinking here, yeah, energy conserve, I can outswim these guys and put 10 seconds in on the last bit, or whether he's thinking, yeah, actually, no, I'll have a rest because I'm tired. We'll see.
Well, we will in the next few moments, but yeah, I mean, it's starting to become, well, it has become already, a really significant gap back, nearly half a minute, and brilliant as the likes of Mario Mola, Jake Birtwhistle are, to expect them to make up 30 seconds on the last stage is a massive and probably very, very unlikely answer.
Yeah, I think there's about 4 or 5 people who are going to get lapped out here. If you just looked on the shot there, as these guys were coming into transition and the guys going the other way, there's a couple of guys that are really close to getting lapped out, and whether the 90-second rule comes in and takes them out beforehand or not, I don't know. The gap to the guys behind, we can tell, has gone up even further. You know, these guys have cleared the entire transition area before they've come through again, so it seems, yeah, 31 seconds, not as much, but it is going up. These guys are a bit more organised now. They're organised the chase. You see Alexandre Fabian there, a great rider, and Birtwhistle obviously working together. They've seen the danger and they're covering it. They know to stay in this competition. They can't start losing the best part of a minute to the guys in front.
Well, not a good stage so far for Henry Schoeman either. He started 10 seconds behind that leading trio, and he's now more than 30 seconds back, so it's taking its toll.
It is, but you've got to remember that at the end of the day, the time splits aren't important, it goes to points. So actually, you know, placing for him is more important. So he's gone, I'm going to wait for those guys, and energy-wise, that's the best thing to do, because if I go this alone, I'm not going to make up those 10 seconds on the guys in front. I'm not going to catch them. I could absolutely kill myself and try to catch them, but I'm not going to do it. And so all it's going to do is cost me, and the guys behind are probably going to catch me because they're in a group anyway, and I've just wasted some energy. So he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, no, I think, like you said before, there's just so many tactics that are coming into play that we've never had to see before, and we've never seen this in men's racing. Let's be honest, we have never seen a men's field broken up like this.
No, I think it's fantastic racing, and we're seeing it broken up for a few reasons. We're seeing it broken up because of how aggressive the athletes are racing, and just on cue we saw Richard Murray's face there, and you know, absolute determination.
His eyes are quite scary, aren't they, when he's in focus mode?
They're quite scary when he just sits and has breakfast with you, let alone on a bike.
But also it's the course, and this technical nature of it makes it, and it's just fantastic to see, because I think this is what all fans of triathlon want to see. We want to see exciting, fast racing where the whole part of the swim, bike and run count, and this is exactly what Super League's about.
Yeah, there is absolutely nothing in Super League for just trying to coast along with the back of a bike pack. It will not work ever.
Yeah, I tried that, it didn't work.
That was, yeah, I don't think you were very well, were you, that day?
No, well, it wasn't a good day or a good few days to have my sick race. I'm ill very, very rarely, and yeah, that was not a good time to choose to be ill. I probably would get away with it on most kind of World Series type racing.
News of someone who hasn't got away with it. Another casualty. Crisanta Grajales is out on the 90-second rule.
Yeah, like I said, I think we could see a few people get eliminated on the 90-second rule.
And I'll be honest, I didn't think I would have expected to see that in the men's field at all. Would you agree?
Yeah, he's a good athlete. He, you know, known for his running, but like we've been talking about, people's weaknesses get shown here because they get exposed. And again, his swim and his bike aren't great. You wouldn't normally see him working really hard in a WTS type race. So I think he's struggling. And also, the season effect. It's the end of a tough season, different type of racing, and you never know how you're going to get up and feel on a day like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Grajales, he would prefer if it was like 38 degrees rather than 20. But he is the 2015 Pan Am Games champion. I mean, he's a top-class athlete in his own right. But today, as Alistair says, in this format, he hasn't been able to live with the pace that these kind of guys are showing at the front.
Yeah, it's getting really tactical between these guys now. I think they're still working hard, but they're not working at max. I just saw Johnny swing off and not look like he was going quite as hard as he could. These guys, they're not got any more time on the guys behind them. And so I'm pretty sure they're starting to think, well, we're together 30 seconds behind. Those guys are actually out this race for the win now. Let's look at each other and start thinking who's going to put time into each other on the swim, depending on how hard we work on the bike.
Would you say this type of racing really gets? I mean, there's always this argument. What's the best triathlete? Who's the best? I mean, it's typical banter, isn't it? Who and what is the best triathlete in the world? And I think this is like you keep reminding us. It's just exposing athletes in different ways. Yes, we have fatigue on the side of end of season, but I think this is the sort of racing everybody has wanted to see, isn't it? That, just to see these athletes going absolutely full throttle at a sport that we really get to enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. I think we could sit here and argue all day about what type of triathlon allowed us to see what the best triathlete is, and it doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, does it? We just want to see fast, exciting racing, and that's what we're seeing. Personally, I think it would be great to see in the future consistent swim bike run where there wasn't actually the 10-minute rest in between. I think we start to have a bit more of the endurance element come in there. And,
okay, so just keep going.
Yeah, I think straight through, that would have made it really interesting.
Last data I have, Richard Varga and Jorik van Egten both right on the cusp. They're a minute 25 back. So
well, we'll just see him here. I think Richard will be hoping he can get to the end of the bike here, and he'll be able to get a few seconds at least back on the swim. Some guys here have chosen to go with goggles round the neck, and other guys haven't. So Christian, for example, he's got goggles around his neck in the hope that would mean that he didn't have to pick them up from the box, but he still had to pick his swimming hat up. So, I mean, once you're down there, you might as well pick both things up. I'm not convinced that's saved any time at all. And Johnny will be absolutely using this next 30 seconds and then 3.5 minutes into the swim to hope that he's hurt people on the bike, and he can now get some time on this swim. He knows this is his chance to just steal 10 seconds.
Well, he had a really good transition. Just news that João Pereira is another who's out. He's one of those athletes can be great on his day, but he can be inconsistent, and he hasn't been able to live with it today either. So they're falling like flies here, and we're only on stage 2.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's being raced aggressively, and that's why it's spreading out. These athletes are kind of getting shown up, and it's tough for them. And yeah, Johnny, he would have liked I would have thought that those guys didn't just jump straight in on his feet. He would have wanted just a couple of seconds to stretch it out. But that said, he's going to be trying to get a bit of time here, and it's going to be interesting to see. So he's in a good position here. He's the one getting clear water and calling the shots, and the two guys behind him are on each other's hips, actually slowing each other down and making it harder for them both to stay with Johnny.
But someone like Richard, who of the three is not the strongest swimmer, I mean, would he tactically be looking at that and saying, you know what, I've got to fight for every stroke, every piece of water to stay with these guys, as much as it's detrimental to somewhat both of them, but in some way for him, he kind of is getting dragged probably along a little faster than maybe what he would be on his own.
Yeah, yes and no, because if Richard sits on Christian's hips, he's actually having a massive drag effect on Christian, slowing him right down, and it makes it less likely that Christian gets on Johnny's feet and they could both lose a bit of time. The sensible thing to do, which is what has actually happened now, Christian's gone, there's no point fighting for the feet. I'm going to hope that Richard manages to get on the feet, and I'm just going to swim in third place on the feet, which is actually quite a big energy saving by the time you're back there. Probably 5 seconds easier per 100 meters, and he's hoping he can just hang on, and Johnny will be doing everything he can just to try and split it up and just if he gets 2 or 3 meters of water, that could grow very quickly to 10 and then 15 meters, and that's a bit of time.
I'm not sure these guys have read the script, because tomorrow is supposed to be the Eliminator, and already, just looking down the times here, currently in 14th place is Igor Polyansky. He's a minute 25 back. I mean, we could potentially have lost 10 people in around about a minute and a half's time, and no one would ever have imagined that.
Yeah, I think one of the things that struck me from Hamilton Island is that it was obviously tough and it was a great form of racing, but I didn't feel it was raced very aggressively. And we're seeing a fit Johnny in the race here racing it aggressively, and that's why we're seeing people eliminated. It'll be really interesting actually in only just less than 2 hours time now to see what the women's like, because they could race this course completely different, and then we know it's the aggressiveness of the race as opposed to the actual course, won't we? How it's raced.
Yeah, just a reminder, we'll of course bring you live coverage of the first ever Women's Super League triathlon race after this men's event is concluded. This is stage 2 of 3 today for the men. The round is completed tomorrow with the eliminator, but how many are going to be in that is anyone's guess at the moment, because Johnny Brownlee setting a fearsome pace, looks like he's going to win this stage. Richard Murray has gone ahead of Blumenfeld in the water, so decent swim for Murray. And these three, even with one whole stage to go, Ali, you suspect they're going to be fighting it out for the points a bit later.
Yeah, I think the first thing is I'm pretty sure you can start tomorrow even if you get eliminated today.
That's correct.
So you can start the race. I mean, obviously you're not going to win the overall because you're not going to get the points. But yeah, I think Johnny is using this chance to try and get a few seconds on people. He knows he's going to start the next one with a bike leg. If you can have a few seconds, maybe you can hold on and extend that gap, maybe not. And the other two guys are just trying to stay in it. They've actually got a pretty tough run at this swim. They've got to get out the swim, run 50 metres up a really steep slope, and then back round through transition, probably the best part of 200 metres. So that's another chance for a bit of time to be gained or to be caught.
Yeah, we saw a few of them having problems coming out the water in stage 1, but no such issues for Johnny Brownlee, who is away, closely pursued by Richard Murray and Christian Blumenfeld. And as Ali was mentioning, up that steep ramp with runs on one side, but that won't be a problem when you go single file. Might be an issue for those behind if there are a couple close together. Yeah, crowd rising to your brother.
Yeah, I think we are in Jersey, but a lot of people here associate and obviously British, so hopefully he's getting a bit of home support, as it were. And yeah, we saw him get out the water there and really push. I think he's seen this as a bit of a chance to get a bit of time. He knows everyone will be hurting, and he knows he can get a bit of time there. Whereas these other guys, Richard especially got out the water, had a bit of a slower turnover, and that's where he's just got a few seconds. I mean, I'm not convinced now what effect it's going to have, because they're going to start on the bike 3 seconds apart, and I think it's actually going to come together. I mean, I know Johnny's going to try and take it on, but I can't see these three staying apart for the 7K bike we're about to start with.
So stage 2, Johnny Brownlee will go out first on stage 3. Blumenfeld and Murray cross the line together, second and third. The order doesn't really make any difference.
And all that work, all that effort for 3 seconds.
I know, absolutely. And this is a good effort by, we've got the likes of Schilling and Mola and
Schumann must have had a great swim there. Great swim. He's caught the best part of 15 seconds up on that swim, so he's done really well. Obviously used the clear water and swam well to get that time, and we just see Mario Mola come over the line in 5th. I think that's probably about 30 seconds down.
Yeah, good work from Aaron Royal as well, who's clawed back some time. Fabian and Matt Hauser and Jake Birtwhistle 37 seconds adrift there. Schilling, that's a good effort from him. He's starting the worst possible place from slot 25.
Yeah, we're just going to wait and see now whether all these guys are going to make it in for the 90 seconds.
Okay, I think we can go down, or we will go down shortly and speak to Johnny Brownlee as we watch the rest of the men come in, and they are some way back, and the time officials are going to be working overtime. Let's go down to Vicky. She's got Johnny Brownlee with her.
Well, tell me, was that purely tactical in this stage?
That was very tactical, that race. I was trying to save as much energy as I could on the run of the bike to leave it for the swim, and I thought I'd get a big gap on the swim, but I think we were all tired going into that swim, and I thought my stroke would help me out, but it didn't really have. Only a few seconds ahead, but that was good fun. I'm enjoying it.
So 2 stages down, I mean, do you think it's taken anything out for the 3rd?
Oh yeah, definitely, of course it has. I'd be lying if I said I'm not tired now, but it's all about being less tired than the other person you race against, or what being able to perform when you're as tired, so hopefully I'm still less tired than everyone else.
Well, you're putting on a fantastic show for us, thank you.
Thank you.
See, Emma's so quick, I didn't even see her sprint out the box and get down there to talk to Johnny. Sounds pretty relaxed and pretty confident, Ali.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting what you were saying there about how tactical it was, because watching it, we thought it was pretty full on. So it's interesting that maybe he thought it was tactical and the others didn't. We'll have to wait and see. And he's absolutely right, though. You know, triathlon is about being basically using less energy than everyone else until it counts. And I think this format of Triathlon Super League is even more about that than any other, because yeah, it's going to come down to tiny margins, and you know, these guys are all going to be fatigued going into this last round.
And it's about giving the spectators a real experience at the event as well. You can see them there 6 or 7 deep, and beautiful weather here in Jersey, as we can check the results after stage 2, where Johnny has a 3-second advantage over Blumenfeld and Murray. We reckon those three will come together on the bike in the final stage today for them. Henry Schoeman 17 seconds back, and then it's more than half a minute to the likes of Royal, Mola, the youngster Matt Hauser, Jake Birtwistle, who was so competitive on Hamilton Island, and Andreas Schilling there just sneaking into the top 10 as well. But plenty of casualties who've been thwarted by the 90-second rule. A bit further down, Ryan Fisher, a minute plus. Richard Varga just about okay, 1:16 back. Igor Polyansky, 1:31. Wow.
That means he's out.
I believe so, under the 90-second rule. Now we can go back down to Vicky, see if she's got with her this time.
No, we haven't got anyone. They've all gone.
Okay, well, we'll go back to Vicky when she does have some company, as we look at Mario Mola there and Aaron Royal.
It is only a 10-minute rest. You know, you don't want to waste even 10 seconds of that 10-minute rest having to do anything you don't want to do. You know, in this period, you want to probably get a bit of water and a bit of nutrition, get your breath back.
Okay, well, while we let Vicky find someone, I think Emma has got someone to talk to. All yours, Emma.
Spencer, this doesn't look good because I've got Vicky Vargas not looking good.
It's a big step ahead for us here. So we have the best women, best men, and even corporate teams today and tomorrow. And we also got a great support and hospitality from the Jersey. So I hope we'll be back next year.
Well, I think the event is turning out to be bigger and better than we all expected, so we're excited to see the third stage for today.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think that the third stage will be very dramatic because we have 3 guys who are leading, and it's not clear who will win today, and that's great.
Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, make sure that you keep the microphone there. Okay. Fascinating to hear, though. This event is clearly taking the sport by storm, and it's not over yet. What a glorious backdrop is here in Jersey. I've never actually been here, and I don't live that far away on the mainland. I don't think you've been here either, have you, Ed?
No, me neither, and I'm possibly the greatest proponent that we should explore where we live and close to where we are. I love exploring different parts of Yorkshire and the Lake District, Northern England, Scotland, and yeah. But that said, I've never been to Jersey, and look what I've been missing out on.
Population around about 100,000 here, and it feels like most of them are lining the course on different parts of it. It's only 46 square miles, the island of Jersey, but you can trace the history back about 1,000 years, and I think the history of triathlon, without question, has been altered by what Super League has done, not just here, also on Hamilton Island as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think for a few reasons. You know, one of the bigger reasons is this type and format of triathlon is really designed to provide entertainment and for the spectator. Both the spectator stood here on the side of the course, the fantastic Jersey residents and the people who have come to watch, but also the people who are watching all over the world on TV. And you know, like we've been finding watching it, it's just action-packed. It's great to watch, and the second big thing is it's just different for the athletes to race. Something different tactics, and it's within still an endurance sport. So I think they're all really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's certainly an experience, and Johnny Brownlee is within one stage of getting huge points. Just a reminder on how the system works as we're getting towards the point where it's going to be really important. 25 for the winner, 21 points for second. 18, 16, 14, 12 down to 10 for 7th place. It goes down, in fact, to 15th in all.
Fernando.
We've already had, as mentioned, several casualties. I can tell you, Yorick van Enkman, 2 minutes and 12 seconds off the pace. So even if we'd had a 2-minute rule, he wouldn't have got in, let alone a 90-second. Are you surprised you've had so many casualties, Alison?
Yeah, I am. We didn't see this many casualties in Hamilton Island, and 90 seconds over 20 minutes of racing, although 40 minutes of racing now isn't a long time at all. But then the other side of it, like we keep saying, this has been really aggressive racing, and I think that's hurt people. It's hurt people like Yuri van Egdom, for example, who would say his swim isn't his strength, and you know, he's been caught out on that, been left isolated and lost that time.
Just looking at the current positions with one stage to go, is it possible, can you see anyone, a Schoeman, a Royal, a Mola, whoever, getting competitive with that leading three, or have those three got it between them?
Those three pretty much dead on, I would have said, have got it between them. They're going to go out and they're going to ride hard, and they're going to ride hard to push each other on and to make sure no one else gets in the race. I think Johnny's probably going to try and steal a bit of a jump on them, but it's probably not going to work. It's going to come back together, but it's not going to leave much chance for the other guys to get back in the race.
We started with 24, we have 17 left, so 7 have fallen by the wayside. Just to reiterate what Alistair said a moment ago, they won't be able to race obviously in stage 3, but they will be able to race tomorrow in the eliminator when everyone is back in the mix. But clearly you're not going to win the whole thing if you don't get any serious points today, and they're all going to get, I think, 1 point if that.
Absolutely not. And we're just seeing now a lot of them are standing in groups kind of chatting to each other, whether it's just pleasantries saying how nice the weather is and what they're going to have for dinner tonight, or whether they're talking tactics and, you know, should I wait for you? If I wait for you, are we going to work together on this bit on the bike? Would be interesting to know. Maybe Emma can ask them afterwards.
Well, I don't know if there's anything to go off the slot draw between the men and the women. I have to say the women were probably a little more unpleasant to each other than the men were. So who knows? But
see, only you are allowed to say that. We wouldn't be allowed to say that.
Oh no, I'll be the first to admit that what goes on in the water in the women's racing is far worse than what goes on in the men's. So I think these boys are probably looking at each other and really, really talking about how actually tired they are.
The tides here are amazing. Where you just saw those guys standing, or behind them was the sea earlier on, and now it's just a seabed. These guys don't have much time though to enjoy the scenery. Just 30 seconds to go until we'll be off and running for the final stage of this race. 25 points to the winner. Brownlee wants the points, Murray wants the points, Blumenfeld wants the points. Only one of them can get them.
Yeah, this I believe they're doing a running start onto the bike here, so they're effectively doing a transition with nothing before it, straight onto the bike. So it's slightly unique, never seen this before.
So away goes Johnny, and there'll be a few second wait for Blumenfeld and for Murray. But as you say, they've got to put the helmet on, they've got to get onto the bike, not before the line obviously.
What this does,
the bike shoes.
Sorry, what this does do though is it just allows for little gaps, you know. For example, if that 3-second gap to Johnny goes to 5 seconds, or if it comes back to 1 second, it just makes it that more difficult or easier to close, or you know, if Blumenfeld there messes up getting his shoes on, that could literally cost him the race. So just adds a little bit extra complexity into it.
Yeah, there was an issue for Blumenfeld. He had by far the worst of it of the leading three. Schoeman had a slight issue with his helmet strap, but he's on and aboard, and there's Aaron Royal just pursued by Mario Mola.
Yeah. It's certainly strange seeing them all standing there with no shoes on, a dead start, running to their bikes and getting on the bike. I mean, even for me that's seen this sport, it's somewhat, a little confusing, but like you said, I mean, there's just so much that the little mistakes and the little bit of tactics that might be coming into play.
Andreas Schilling had a real problem getting on his bike there, you might have seen.
Yeah, we actually just saw there was about a 3 or 4 second gap back to Blumenfeld as he came back past us and went and headed out on the course, and will be interesting to see whether he can get back on, how hard the two guys, Johnny and Richard Murray, are going to push it at the front, whether they don't allow him to get back into the race now or whether they have no choice. Poor Henry Schumann is in exactly the same place as he was before. He doesn't know he's on his own. Does he wait for the guys behind him or not? I think this time he shouldn't. He's got to ride. He's a great swimmer, so I think he's got to ride, limit his losses, and try and swim as well as he can.
So all bar a couple now are on board their bikes and out of transition.
Someone nearly fell off on that bend there. The last person to go around it. I don't know who he was, but he very nearly fell off.
Do you think it's quite possible in these short turnarounds that the guys haven't even thought about maybe even changing the gearing?
Yeah, quite possibly. I did actually see them do that at the end of the first race. They went back in, you know, changed the gearing. Obviously, when you're jumping on your bike, you don't want to be in too big a gear or too little a gear. You want to get moving as quick as you can. But yeah, like I said, they've not got a lot of room to manoeuvre here. They're tired. They're probably not thinking straight, and definitely they can make mistakes.
We saw in that replay we just showed you, problems can occur just getting onto your bike. But it looks as though Blumenfeld has caught on to Murray and Brownlee, so they're together again, these three, as they have been pretty much for the entire afternoon.
Yeah, it's been close, been fantastic racing, both hard, tough, aggressive racing and tactical at times between these three. And yeah, we'll see now. It didn't look like they were pushing as hard as they could there to me. It looked like they were just biding the time a bit. They know, Richard will know he doesn't want to go that hard into the swim, and Johnny will know if he can save a bit of energy, you know, maybe he can get a bit of time. So this is all going through their minds at the same time as going, well, I don't want to let any of those guys behind me catch me up.
And how much is today going to have taken out of them, Alistair, ahead of tomorrow? Because for these three, it's not just about winning the race, it's about winning the round as well. You don't want to be going in tomorrow any more fatigued than you absolutely have to be.
I don't think any of them are thinking about tomorrow at this point. I think they'll be going absolutely hard they can, trying to win this race. And I mean, I don't actually think it'll have that much effect on tomorrow. It is only an hour of racing all split up. It's not like they're running a tough 10k all in one, which is the kind of thing which normally tends to batter your legs, and you get the muscle damage and DOMs that cost you a few days afterwards. Yeah, I think they'll be tired tonight. There'll obviously be lots of anaerobic racing going here, lots of lactic acid in the muscles, and that's hurting them. But that goes pretty quick, and you recover from it. And I think they'll be able to race hard again tomorrow.
Yeah, if anything, I think if the racing was, you know, in 2 or 3 days' time, they'd feel a lot worse, you know, when the body is trying to catch up and recover. But, you know, the short, sharp racing is certainly causes some severe muscle fatigue and soreness. So I think in some way, you know, these athletes are experienced and they'd prefer to be racing straight up in the morning. But, you know, the fact that, that it's such short racing that they are so on the red line. I mean, even heading into the third race, most of them, their eyes are just looking like, really? I'd be quite happy if we'd just done 2 today.
Yeah, it looks like those chasing Schoeman are likely to catch on fairly shortly. He's had a couple of kind of slightly nervous looks behind him.
Yeah, I think like we were talking about, Schoeman was in a difficult position there and he wasn't sure whether to wait, but I think we saw him looking behind him and he was waiting. Tactically, it's the best thing to do. Maybe he's going to try and sit in and have a little rest for a couple of laps now and hope that he can cause some damage on the swim. I mean, Schoeman really is a fantastic swimmer, so he made a lot of time up actually on that last leg. We didn't talk too much about it. I think probably swam the best part of 15 seconds into Johnny. I think Johnny will be disappointed with that swim, and Schoeman's had an absolutely flying swim there which has kept him in the hunt for the top place.
Well, the swim, remember, is next on this stage after the bike, and then they finish with the run. We could be in for a classic, because all these three guys, we know at the top of their form, can run brilliantly. Blumenfeld's had a fabulous season. Johnny Brownlee we saw in Stockholm recently, and of course Richard Murray's running needs no introduction either, so hard to call that too, even at this stage.
Yeah, impossible to call it, and I'm not even going to try. It's a completely unique format, and it's difficult. I think we're seeing Schilling struggling a bit there, aren't we? He had that terrible transition and a bad bike mount, and maybe he's tired already and he's making mistakes, or maybe that's cost him. We'll wait and see.
I mean, is it just me, but you do get those days where you feel like you're pedaling squares? Is this going to be one of those places where they just feel like the bike just does not have round wheels anymore?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows what it's like to have a bad day in whatever walk of life you're in, and on this kind of stage, in this event, anything bad, gets magnified and has massive consequences. So yeah, he could well be having a bad day, and that's hurting him. Maybe we've talked a lot about being tired, maybe that, or maybe it's the format of the racing, jumping on your bike straight off, or after running, or after the races that's already been going on, with loads of lactic in your legs can be really, really tough.
Well, it's about half a minute plus now to those behind the leading trio, and as we expected, Schoeman now riding alongside the likes of Matt Hauser, Mario Mola, Aaron Royal, Alessandro Fabian is there as well, along with Jake Birtwhistle and Andrea Schilling after that awkward bike mount a few moments ago. But these three surely now have it between them.
Yeah, almost certainly. And we're seeing just the slight nuance of the tactics here and how they're riding. Johnny is riding a a very clinically clean race. He's not over-risking around corners. He's riding quick. He's making sure he's really close to the wheel in front of him when he's behind, saving all the energy he can, but still putting people under a bit of pressure. Richard corners really well and really quickly, quicker than Johnny, and he's using that to put the other guys under pressure. He corners quick and really pushes out of it. Christian isn't as skillful as the other two. You can see that. He drops off the wheel on almost every corner and has to chase that little bit back on. That could or could not cost him in the next few events. So it's quite interesting just to watch how different they are and how different they're trying to push it on.
There's no half measures with Christian Blumenfeld, are there, Emma? It's absolutely everything every time with him.
He does say that, you know, he does race all out there, and sometimes to the detriment. He did say at points that it is bordering on stupid, but I think, you know, as an athlete, we've obviously seen and heard his name now a little bit more this year, and I guess that, you know, he's just somebody who's willing to test his boundaries in whatever capacity. And look, if you've got the likes of those two athletes around you, all you can do is live and learn.
Just heard that Igor Polyansky is the latest casualty. So yet another big name is out, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, this is great racing we're seeing, and I think the number of people that have been taken out is testament to that, and we've still got 2 legs to go. These guys have got to dive into the water now after a really hard 10 minutes on the bike and swim, and yeah, we'll see again whether that gives any chance for just a bit of daylight to develop between them.
Well, Johnny did mention after that round that he thought that his stroke would feel better, you know, that would account for something in the water that would take over. So even as someone who feels as confident in the water as he does, for him to say that, you know, he really struggled in this instance.
Yeah, I know very well Johnny puts a lot of stock in his swimming stroke. He's always telling me how good it is. So, yeah, I'm absolute testament to that. But
where does he get that modesty from, do you think?
I don't know. Well, he thinks it's better than mine anyway. So, and yeah, I probably agree with him on the whole.
So here they come through transition and off the bikes. And this swim could be absolutely pivotal in deciding who's going to get the maximum 25 points. One of them's going to get 25, one of them's going to get 21, and one of them's going to get 18. And that 7-point gap, first to third, could potentially be critical come tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely critical. I mean, there is only 2 races, and that is, just see Ben Dijkstra there on the side of the course. I don't know whether he's been eliminated or been taken out or crashed, I'm not sure, but he's definitely out of this race.
Just been pulled out, Alistair, again, more than 90 seconds behind.
Yeah, so more and more people going out. Yep, this swim is going to be crucial. Any little moment here, a gap on the swim or a bad transition could have massive consequences in the whole, not just today's race, but the whole picture in terms of the combination of the races tomorrow, definitely.
Blumenfeld, Brownlee and Murray in that order as they head towards the marina.
Yeah, we're going to see Blumenfeld dive in here first and take it on. I would expect Johnny just to either try and sit on a little bit and rest or take it on. And Richard Murray just needs to go straight for the first beat he can find and conserve energy round here. I think if he knows if he comes out with these guys and conserves energy, then he's in a great position to to beat these guys over on the 2K run. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's been tactical, especially on this last leg. It's been tactical. I'm pretty sure Johnny's been conserving energy a little bit, and Richard to an extent as well.
What kind of a deficit do you think Richard Murray would accept? In the sense of, okay, maybe 10 seconds, I reckon I can maybe get the better of Johnny and Christian over that with that much of a disadvantage, or 15 or 5?
No, I think if he knows there's much more than 5 seconds, he's going to struggle, to be honest. I would have thought over 2K, I mean, they're fairly evenly matched running anyway. We saw last week where Johnny actually beat Richard at over 10K, fair enough, but yeah, I think they're fairly evenly matched. I think if they all come out together, the 3 of them, I think it's going to be interesting to see whatever. So if there's any gap there, it's going to be even more interesting. And we see, I mean, so Johnny there is leading, you know, turning his arms over. Christian's in second place on his feet, really turning over quick and choppy, doing all he can to stay on Johnny's feet. And whether that's going to cost him in the next 200 metres of the swim or going on to the run, it's going to be interesting to see. Richard just dropping back onto the feet, energy conservation and holding in there. That's definitely the best tactic for him.
I reckon at the moment it is about 5 seconds from Johnny Brownlee back to Richard Murray. We'll get obviously the official times when they come out of water in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it is interesting that it's not splitting as much as we might have thought on these swim legs. I think, to be honest, when it's just a pure straight line like that and you're just swimming on each other's feet, it's, you know, the advantage you get from being behind someone is massive, and, you know, it's quite easy to stay there. The reason we see it split up more in bigger ITU races when we in the World Series, when people go around boys and they're in big groups, is that people kind of hold each other back, and that allows gaps to happen and not get filled. We see Henry Schumann having another great swim there, trying to swim across the gap.
He sort of keeps going from no man's land back to the group and out to no man's land.
The
again,
water brings him
Yeah.
back into contention every time, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's having a tough day, isn't he? He's definitely using his strengths to the maximum, and you've got to do in this kind of racing.
You can see the gap there. It is around about half a minute from Murray in third, back to Henry Schumann, his fellow South African, in fourth, and it's pretty spread after that as well. I can tell you that currently at the back of the field, looks like Fernando Alaz is going to be pulled out as well.
Yeah, Johnny just eased off his turn over there. I think he's decided I'm not going to drop them at this point in the race, and if I do, if I get a gap for 100 metres, the best I can do is 2 or 3 seconds, and it's not worth it. So I think he's just eased off the gaps, and he's knowing that that's going to conserve just a little bit of energy coming onto the run.
And let's not forget just getting out of the water back up to transition. I mean, you know, someone like Richard really maximises those sorts of places, doesn't he? You know, the small areas within the race, and I just think, yeah, you're right. He's tactically, he's just reassessing every few seconds within this race.
Okay, well, we mentioned that Ben Dykstra is out the race as the leading trio come out the waters. Quickly going to Vicky, who's got Ben with her.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so Ben, I can see you're stood here. You've got scrapes covering your body. Not what you were hoping for. Tell us what happened.
I mean, we were just all pushing it, and I think I just went a bit too hard around one of the corners, and that's the thing when you're absolutely on the limit. You've got to try and find that extra percent, and if you overshoot it by 1%, then yeah, things like this happen, and that's just part of racing. Bit of a shame that it happened to me, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching these guys come through the finish, because it's get up tomorrow and do it all again, and hopefully stay on my bike this time.
Yeah, we wish you all the best for tomorrow and hope you heal up overnight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, we like the attitude. He wants to get right back into the swim of things tomorrow. Meanwhile, we have just got the run leg to go to decide who's going to win.
This triathlon's really important. I think John has just lost a bit of time there. He struggled to get his shoe on, and that couple of seconds could be absolutely critical. But yeah, you can see the tyres. There's not the really quick turnover you'd expect going out on the start of the run that we saw in the first two rounds. And I think this has really hurt them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over this next 2K run.
Well, it's Aaron Royal who's trying to chase down Henry Schumann, currently in fourth place, but Schumann's got a nice little advantage. So he looks pretty much guaranteed to come fourth, and that carries with it 16 points unless something goes dramatically wrong. But yeah, as you were saying, Alice, it looked like Johnny didn't get it completely right in transition. He's given both Blumenfeld and Murray maybe about 10-15 metres.
Yeah, we're not seeing it from the camera here, but we just saw him run past, and there was a 10-metre gap there, and he didn't look like he was moving that well, to be honest. So I think he's going to struggle to get back on terms over this 2K run, and I think it's probably going to be between Blumenfeld and Murray here.
Well, this is a real statement of intent, isn't it, from Blumenfeld? He just knows only one way to compete. Doesn't matter whether it's in the water, on the bike, or on the run. And he's trying to throw it down to Richard Murray. He hasn't dropped the South African, but he's got himself a little bit of an advantage with Johnny Brownlee further adrift now back in third.
No, that's definitely daylight there. He's got an advantage. Murray would be right on that shoulder if he possibly could be, and that just shows Blumenfeld's pushing it on. Johnny's actually lost a fair bit of time here, the best part of 10 seconds over that time, so it must have taken it out of him, and he's struggling. Whether he goes hard here in the hope he can catch Murray or not is going to be interesting to see.
He might suspect discretion could be the better part of valour, because whether he finishes like a second behind him or 30 seconds behind, it's the same points, assuming obviously Schumann doesn't catch him, which looks unlikely in any case over 2K. Murray getting closer to Blumenfeld. This is going to be good.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you know, Blumenfeld is just going absolutely max here, and he knows 2K. He just thought, well, if I can break Murray early doors, maybe I can get a gap and hold on to it. Whereas Murray's gone, no, it's a 2K race, I'm going to pace up to him, keep it a bit more even paced, and I think that's what he's done now. He's got back on terms with him. He's just behind him, and he'll just sit there now until he feels like he can make a move.
has the Norwegian in his sights. Blumenfeld, though, is so strong. Even if Murray does go past him, expecting to try and fight back. We've seen it before so many times. There's Johnny.
Yeah, Blumenfeld's running really quick around the corners as well, which is one of the interesting things.
His turnover is really, really high, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we've seen Richard and the way he can accelerate and in and out of corners too. But you're right about Christian there. It's really surprising, and they both look like they're really trying to continue to put the pressure on each other. I mean, I think he felt that Murray come up on him and thought, I'm going to try for another gear. So whether or not this gear lasts or not, it's going to be very exciting.
Well, the sweet sound of the bell for Christian Blumenfeld and Richard Murray. They just have 1,000 kilometres to go. Meters, I beg your pardon.
Wow, there would be time after that.
And you can see the gap now back, and
yeah, Johnny's at risk here, actually, of getting caught by Schumann. So, yeah, I mean, he has to really race clever here to make sure he doesn't get caught, because once he's at fourth, and the points that will cost him going into the overall, that could be really quite terminal for him. So, yeah, interesting that it's obviously really hurt him and he's struggling. This battle between Murray and Blumenfeld is still going on. That's exactly the same as it was last time they came past, 5 metres, and we'll see over this last, the closing parts of the race now, what goes on.
And Blumenfeld, the way he runs, and we've seen it before, he's not going to just allow Murray to sit on the shoulder and then if he thinks he's going to just ease past him with 100 metres to go. That's not the way he does things, and he's got himself another gap, and this one could potentially be the difference between 25 points and 21. Blumenfeld has had a magnificent season, and we may not have seen the end of it yet because Murray is struggling now to get back on terms with the Norwegian. There you see the gap.
Yeah, that's a significant gap now, a very significant gap. But Murray's still running well, he's still got his head up, you can tell he hasn't given up on it quite yet. But Blumenfeld, he just pushes around every corner and out every corner, and that's what's caused the gap. And I think, I mean, that 10 metres over this last 500 or 600 and going out, I think that's going to be really hard for Murray to close, but you never know.
And a separate battle going on with Johnny Brownlee trying to hold off Henry Schumann. It's the battle for third and fourth, but we are with the leader, Christian Blumenfeld. You can see Murray back. He's not really been able to close in the last minute or so. Blumenfeld knows he's not far away now from starting this second ever Super League Triathlon event with maximum points for the Saturday.
Yeah, I think he's won it now. I can't see Richard Murray being able to close that gap. Blumenfeld is on a high, he's running well. He looks like, I mean, obviously not comfortable, but he's no signs of slowing up at all. And yeah, that gap's gone right out 20-30 metres at least, which is not going to get caught. The interesting thing now is Johnny is probably going to get caught by Henry Schumann, and whether he's waiting to try and get him in the sprint or not, or whether he's just so tired he can't do anything about it, we're going to see in this next minute.
So Richard Murray has to settle for second, and he'll conserve energy from here. No danger of him being caught for that position, and probably if you'd offered him second today at the start, he would have taken it. I mean, he's in great position now to defend that title.
Yeah, to be honest, I think for anyone who isn't in one of these first two, it's going to be quite hard not to win this because of the big points discrepancies. And I think for example, someone from third or fourth to win it, Christian Blumenfeld would probably have to finish right back down the order again in worse than what they did, so fourth or fifth. And I'm not sure we're going to see that happen. So yeah, I think we're seeing probably the guys in the first who are going to come first and second overall here. He's enjoying the moment.
Yeah, he is. He's conducting the crowd as well, but he's conducted this race absolutely brilliant. Consistency, he swung well, he's biked and run really bravely. He looks behind, there's no danger, and he is going to win this race. Blumenfeld takes 25 points, puts himself in pole position for tomorrow's Eliminator and to take the overall title. But this man, who's the defending champion, he'll have to rip it out of his grasp. He is going to take big points too. He's such a character. He finishes second in the race, and Johnny Brownlee with Schumann trying to get the sprints on, but Brownlee has held him off, and Brownlee will finish third, and that keeps him in good shape as well, with the South African Schumann back in fourth.
Yeah, I think, like I said, Johnny will be really disappointed with that. He'll struggle, you know, he knows it's going to be a struggle going into the next round, what's going on, but what a fantastic race for Christian Blumenfeld. I mean, we talked so much about how they were racing tactically and technically, trying to save energy for this race, and out of the three of them, we wouldn't have thought that Christian Blumenfeld was saving the most energy to use it on that run. So he's done really well there, raced well, and you know, obviously he's super fit. And ran well, and we've seen it. Good on him. Fantastic racing.
Mario Mola finishing in 5th. Let's hear now from our winner of this race, because Christian Blumenfeld is down the winner.
Well, Christian Blumenfeld, winner of Triple Mix today. Please tell me how you are feeling.
It feels super good. It's like I knew that, especially Murray, he seems to be really strong on the run, so I wasn't really sure where to get him, but yeah. Super pleased.
I mean, has anything about today's three races been tactical? I mean, it seems like you guys worked so well together, but for yourself personally, is it just a matter of staying there?
I think the fact that we are starting the next race with the gap that we built up on the run before that played a huge in today, because like today we just tried to go hard on the first one and kept it going, so yeah, it worked well together.
Well, do you think the experience of Hamilton Island, you've had a great season this year, has that all come into play in helping you in this sort of environment?
Well, my plan was actually to stay a little bit more calm on the first round, but it's too hard, you know, with so many people around cheering on you, and so yeah, I think I didn't plan to go that hard on the beginning, but yeah, certainly played out well.
Well, it certainly doesn't seem like that's in your nature of racing, so we wish you the quickest recovery and all the best for tomorrow.
Thanks.
Well, he's such a modest guy, Christian Blumenfeld. As we check the results here, his winning margin over Richard Murray, 13 seconds in the end. Similar distance back to Johnny Brownlee, who held off the charging Henry Skimmer, with Mario Mola, the world champ, back in 5th. Matt Hauser, some 50 seconds adrift. You can see how they're strung out. Jake Birtwistle, I mean, who would have thought he would finish a minute plus behind the winner?
Yeah, we would have never predicted that after he looked so good in the first round of this in Hamilton Island. But yeah, we haven't seen an awful lot of great racing from him this year. So maybe, you know, the form he struggled with a little bit. Maybe, who knows, there could be a bit of an injury going on, or again, towards the back end of the year. But yeah.
And you can see there that both Ryan Fisher and Ben Canoe eliminated, both a minute 30 plus behind. So in the end, only 10 finishers, which I don't think anyone would have forecast at the start of the day. Such was the pace of racing in this Super League triathlon. I don't think if you were asked at the start of the day, Alistair, how many do you think would be eliminated, I'd have said maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3. In the end, 14.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone would have predicted that. Really interesting to see, and it was definitely nothing like that in Hamilton Island. And I think, like we've said before, it's just to do with how aggressive they went out on that first leg. Like Christian Blumenfeld said, he said my plan was to keep it a bit easy on that first leg, but I got carried away, and all our questions about whether it was technical or kind of tactical racing, I think, have been answered there, because it wasn't. I think that the guys, those three, took it on, and you know, the other guys, they just had to go with it, around it, and they just went for it, which made for really great watching.
Okay, let's get down and hear from the defending champion, the man who was second in the triple mix. Richard Murray is downstairs with Vicky.
Hi Richard, so you looked really comfortable today out there, I mean second place, but you were orchestrating the crowd the whole way through that final stage and you looked supremely confident.
Yeah, it was definitely, you know, the plan was to guard really hard because I knew it was a 4K run with a break in between, and I think that was the biggest moment we could get a bit of a gap going. It's the first time I've ever been in a breakaway in my career, so I was like, man, we really have to work hard on this bike, and yeah, geez, it was pretty hard out there, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't easy.
So you feeling good going into tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. I definitely started to feel at the end of the race on the bike, I started to feel, okay, the legs are getting a bit sore here and they're a bit tired, but yeah, definitely I'm feeling good going into tomorrow, and save a little bit in the tank for more tomorrow, so we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
No, cheers, thank you very much, and thanks to Super League, it's wonderful.
Well, that is the absolute key to it, as he said, keep something in the tank for tomorrow. Interesting that Richard Murray, during his interview, Alistair, was talking about not used to being in a lead pack on the bike. Well, maybe, you know, his swimming has been his Achilles heel, we know, down the years, but if he improved that a little bit, we've seen how well he bikes and how well he runs, you have to think maybe he'd have had more success.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but that is the million-dollar question about triathlon as a whole, isn't it? If you improve one discipline, you've got more likely to win overall. But yeah, I think, you know, like you said, he knows that swimming is his weakness. I'm sure he's worked on it very, very hard, and that's shown with probably a little bit of improvement. But it's a hard thing to do, you know. A lot of people talk about swimming and having to do it from a young age, to learn the stroke and the technique and having that ability in the water. And there's not an awful lot of people out there who I've seen who've managed to really transform their swimming ability around. That said, it's not impossible either.
Well, that is your top 10, and they are the only 10 that finished officially, because everyone else was more than 90 seconds behind at some point. 14 different triathletes, and these are the world's best, remember. These are not also Rands, have been eliminated. Blumenfeld wins, maximum points, Murray second, Brownlee third. Mario Mola still gives himself a little bit of a squeak tomorrow, having finished in 5th place overall, and that will get the world champion 14 points. Okay, let's go down and enjoy the podium presentations. We're down there on the podium now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies to the male superstars of Super League Triathlon following today's triple mix race. Presenting the triple mix trophies today is local Jersey junior triathlete Joe Badeau. Presenting the champagne is Senator Lyndon Farnham. In 3rd place for the triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017. Yeah? I've said stuff, but no one can hear me. I've said stuff, but no one can hear me.
I'll hear you.
Start from the beginning. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies to the male superstars of Super League Triathlon following today's triple mix race. Presenting the triple mix trophies today is local Jersey triathlete Joe Badeau. Presenting the champagne is Senator Lyndon Farnham. In 3rd place for the triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, from Great Britain, let's hear it for Jonathan Brownlee. In 2nd place for the male triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, wearing number 7 from South Africa, Richard Murray. And today's winner at the men's triple mix at Super Jersey, let's turn it up for our winner, number 2, Christian Blumenfeld. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our men's podium finishers at Super League Jersey Triple Mix.
Well, it's not just up close and personal with the athletes, up close and personal and quite wet with champagne by the look of it, the way they were spraying it around. What are your reflections on that, Alistair? Obviously, you know, Johnny on the podium, but maybe a bit surprised with the way that Blumenfeld in particular really took the race on in the latter stages.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think either of us would have predicted that that Blumenfeld would really be able to push on that last run and get such a significant time gap. I think we thought it would have been close, and we thought those three guys would be fairly evenly matched. But I think it just shows how much the other stages have taken out of the athletes.
Yeah,
well,
really
apart from Blumenfeld, obviously.
I took it out from the start, from the first swim. I was first out the water, the first swim, and it was full on the whole way around. And I was trying to save as much energy as I could, but it was really hard work. And then I made a mistake in my second transition at the end, and that cost me the race. But these two are incredible. They ran really fast that last run. But yeah, I'm really tired, and I've got to do it all again tomorrow.
Do you think that these two having raced in Hamilton Island played a little bit of an advantage, or you just think that you're all going out there going as hard as you could?
Maybe a little bit of advantage. I was a bit confused at the time what was next. I had to pick my hat, my goggles up and things like that. But I had the advantage of having a home crowd, so that's a big advantage. And it's great to see lots of Jersey people come out and support me. So thank you, and yeah, let's bring on tomorrow.
Well, Richard, we saw you excel in Hamilton Island today. Talk about the race.
Yeah, it was definitely looked at it beforehand, and I realised it was a 4-kilometre run, kind of on the trot, and I decided that was the moment to try and go for it today. And luckily, I had obviously these two men next to me come with, and it was definitely a really hard day. It's my first breakaway ever, and the crowd was amazing. And it's very hard to be in a breakaway. So kudos to the guys that do it every race.
I mean, the three of you certainly seemed to play a tactical game out there once you got that advantage. Was that something you really kept thinking about, or was it a matter of conserving until, the final run?
Yeah, well, I definitely thought, oh no, now we actually have to keep going at this one. So I only realised that only after the first one. I thought, wow, this is going to be pretty hard today. But it was great fun. The guys worked really well, and Blumenfeld managed to get the better of me today. But great from the two guys and from the supporters and everyone that came out. Cheers, and thanks to Super League for making it happen.
Well, our winner, Christian, I mean, you've got the two amazing athletes by your side, but you managed to get over the top of them today. I mean, that must be an amazing feeling in itself.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be in a breakaway with Brownlee and Murray. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
You've often said that, you don't often race the smartest. You just go out there and it is a little detrimental at times, but today it certainly seemed to have paid off.
Yeah, I think I had to pay hard for that at Hamilton Island. So, luckily played a little bit different here today. So, I'm happy.
Well, we wish you all a very speedy recovery, and we're looking forward to seeing you doing it all again tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really popular, Christian Blumenfeld, and he goes in tomorrow with maximum points, of course, but Richard Murray hot on his heels, and Johnny Brownlee will come in third overall. Well, the 25 guys have had, at least they had some experience of what they were going to be in for today, because they raced on Hamilton Island. But coming up next, 25 of the best women in the world, and the first time they will ever have competed at this format. You do not want to miss it. Coming up shortly.
Up here in the studio, Macca and I feel like we've been through, I don't know what we've been through. It was quite an emotional thing, wasn't it? To watch Christian Blumenfeld after 3 second places in a row in WTS, and you know how much he hated finishing second in that Rotterdam race last weekend, to finally do it, and to do it in front of two guys who were so accomplished. What a huge moment.
And you saw how important that first race was. He was very, very aggressive. He got a great start in the swim. Brownlee set that up with a great, leading out that first swim, but that first race set it up for him. On that last run leg, I thought he was going to turn himself inside out. He looked remarkable, hung on. I actually picked Richard to run over the top of him. It didn't happen.
Well, he certainly looked that way. He looked like he was comfortable there, but then Christian Blumenfeld found, 9th gear or maybe 10th gear and managed to run away from him. And the other thing that really stood out, and obviously we've talked about it a lot, is the stretch between the athletes, which was huge. We only had 10 people finish that race. It was a 60-second rule back in Hamilton Island. We made it 90 seconds. We probably could have made it 3 minutes if we wanted to lose one or two. And it started all the way back in the first stage when people started slipping coming out of the water, and it just started to create these gaps. I mean, after these guys had put everything into this swim, you saw Jake Birtwistle there have a big slip. We see Christian Blumenfeld have a slip later on. These guys were having trouble getting up there, and that's when the stretch began.
Well, Christian Blumenfeld, with his poor swim here, you watched him in race one set up that whole race for him in the entire day by being very, very aggressive on that bike course.
Also, there was some trouble coming off the bike as well. A few guys had a few problems. Johnny Brownlee had a terrible transition. Andreas Schilling had a tough transition as well, and we see that right here because these guys have got huge lactic coming in, and this is not usually the way they do things, and they get the wobbles,
yeah, well,
just like us.
Yeah, well, the takeaway is little gaps matter, and they extend very much. So Henry Schumann, a real star of today's race, I thought.
Let's talk about the guys that are eliminated, because there are 14 of them. They've got to back it up tomorrow in the Eliminator, which is designed to hurt people as well. But it's hard to back up, and a guy like Ben Shaw, who had a tough time in Hamilton Island, was the first to go.
Well, the takeaway, you wonder if the guys who were eliminated today are going to be a lot fresher for tomorrow's race. Those boys up front were very, very hard. Benny Shaw, we saw in Hamilton Island. I'm keen to talk to him tonight to see what his tactics are for tomorrow, because the Eliminator is a special event.
I'm not keen to talk to him at all. I think I'll give him a wide berth.
I think anyone who knows Ben Shaw, he wears his passion on his sleeve, and he's going to be really bummed with himself.
It's been great racing. Congratulations on coming together with this one, because we saw obviously Ali Brownlee talking about how good it was. Well done.
Thank you very much. I guess we're all surprised by the results. Can't wait for tomorrow.
All right, there is plenty to come. We're going to have the women's race. That's in about an hour's time. And tomorrow we're going to see the men and the women once again. It's been huge. Triple mix, first of 4 races. We'll be back very, very soon.
After the brutal heat of Hamilton Island, Australia, Super League Triathlon has crossed the globe to just off the coast of France, and we've doubled in size. Our men are back, they know what's coming, and they have scores to settle. And here we'll crown our new queen with 25 of the best women in the world taking on Super League for the very first time. 4 races, 50 athletes, Olympic medalists, world champions, Ironmen and women. It doesn't get much better than this. This is Jersey. This is Super League. We're back.
What is Super League?
Fast. Painful, tactical.
Action-packed. This is Super League.
Et c'est magnifique.
Hello, I'm Will McCloy, and alongside me, 2 of the greats of triathlon, Emma Snowstill and Chris McCormack. And Macca, Super League Hamilton Island was great. This is a bigger and better challenge.
Well, I think we all agree Super League Hamilton Island exceeded all our expectations, and now here on Jersey, it's going to be absolutely marvellous. An epic course to have a look at.
Twice as much talent, Emma. We've got 25 of the best women in the world as well. It's a deep field.
Strongest women's field we've seen assembled since Rio. These women are going to put on a true show for us as well, so very exciting to see what they can produce.
And we get to stand on top of a castle. That's not too bad either. Let's find out a little bit now about what Super League is all about. Jersey marks the debut of the women in Super League Triathlon, and if the men have taught us anything, it's that no reputation is safe. 2013 World Champ Non Stanford and Commonwealth Games gold medalist Jodie Stimpson are sure to be in the mix.
It's awesome to be here. I remember watching it when it was in Hamilton Island with the men, and I was just jealous. It's the total unknown. In one way you need the endurance to get through all the events, but then you still need the speed to get to that point. So it's going to be a total mixture.
Throw in current world duathlon champ Emma Pallant and young gun Sophie Caldwell, and the British contingent is strong.
It kind of feels like a bit of a home event, like loads of us Brits coming over to do it, and we're such good friends off the course as well, so I think hopefully we can maybe work together and try and overthrow the Americans.
The rivalries run deep, and the American challenge will be headed by Katie Zafiris, second in the recent World Series Grand Final, alongside Californian lifeguard Taylor Spivey.
I think this format suits the well-rounded triathlete. You can't be strong at one discipline. I think you have to be a smart racer.
It's such a balance just between make sure you're conserving the energy to last over the 2 days and the multiple races, but also being fast enough to make it to the last day and make it into the final rounds. So I think I'm just going to try and find that sweet spot.
Europe boasts some real class as well. Watch out for sprint specialist Claire Michel, former junior world champion Emmy Chararon, and Dutch favourite Rachel Klammer.
I used to be pretty bad in short distances, but I've showed the last couple of years that I'm actually getting better at that too, because I mean my first WTS medal and my only one was on a short distance.
It's unique. It will be my first time to change the order of the triathlon, so I will see it.
Everyone has a chance here, but if you make a little mistake, you're gone.
The course may be short, but the challenge will be intense.
Probably the toughest part is diving back in the water when your legs are completely stuffed already, because we're not used to that. Normally we dive in the water and we feel good, we feel fresh, so that'll be the biggest challenge, I think.
Away from sport, life can present some other challenges too. Just ask 2012 Olympic champion Nicola Spirig.
4 months ago I gave birth to my second child, Malaya, and I was lucky I could start training again really soon after giving birth. I think I'm still having a chance.
This is one of the strongest women's fields ever assembled, and they're about to take on one of triathlon's greatest tests.
You don't know who's good at this format, and you don't know who's going to do well, and everybody's a threat.
I'm going to be realistic and hope for a top 5.
The whole concept's amazing, like loads of sports going to be here, and yeah, I'm really excited to race.
Everyone is so excited for the race and talking about it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
As we tend to do here at Super League Triathlon, we're breaking new ground once again. 25 very excited after having watched the men's race, probably slightly stressed women about to take on the triple mix. Alongside me, Chris McCormack, and 3 Olympic medals, if you don't mind, sitting here too, Vicky Holland and Alistair Brownlee. And we're going to break it down right now. Macca, we'll start with you. I know that at Hamilton Island, lots of people are saying, where's the women? Here they are, and they'll be here for every round from now on. They're very excited.
And what a field we're going to see. It's going to be amazing racing to watch. We're all talking about the Americans versus the Brits, but the whole entire European contingent and Australian contingent here, it's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, we're covering pretty much the whole globe.
Yeah.
So you just stayed right on the fence there. Let's ask for some more insightful comments from you two. Let's start with you, Vicky. Exciting to have the women here. Who do you pick in this format?
It's a really tough one. We haven't got anything to go on. They've not done this before. I think someone you can never overlook is Nicola Spirig. She's just been around in this sport for so long. She's got 2 Olympic medals, just strong across the board and tactically very astute too.
Yeah, and 4 months after having a child, she has a 8-pack on her stomach. I saw it yesterday. I was very impressed. Ali, we saw a huge spread in the men's field. Are we expecting the same here, do you think?
It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, it's exactly the same course, exactly the same format, but how the athletes take it on is going to be very different. My gut feeling is it's probably going to be a little bit less aggressive, so the spread isn't going to be quite as much. That said, the field could spread out, you know, in terms of the difference in the abilities. I'd like to go a bit more out there. Obviously, stay with the Brits. I think it's going to be great to see Non and Jodie race well, but a bit of a dark horse in terms of Sophie Caldwell. She's great over the short distances, normally technically great at the swim bike transitions, pushing it on early doors, so I think we could expect to see her race aggressively and take it on.
So 3 Brit tips from the Brit. Yeah, that's very exciting. Yeah, that's very. What about you? Quick name for me.
Laura Lindemann.
Katie Zafiris.
All right, there you go. We've covered a few bases there. Let's have a look now at the afternoon's schedule, and what a schedule it is going to be. Up next, the women's triple mix, as we said. It's going to be, if you were watching the men, it's going to be tough, it's going to be painful, and we might get rid of a few people before the end of it. And then tomorrow, we flip the order. The women will take on the Eliminator, which is another very, very stressful format, and then the men round out the whole thing. It's going to be exciting racing this afternoon.
I can't believe it. It's finally here. We've seen a lot of the girls warming up. They were watching the men's race. That takeaway from that men's race is how important race stage 1 is of this triple mix.
All right, we saw the men attack it with all the gusto in the world earlier on in the day, and now the women will start to swim 130 metres out to the first buoy, a hard turn left, and then another one. And we saw the field maybe not break up as much on the swim as we did in the other 2 legs.
Yeah, and from that takeaway from the men, Sophie Caldwell could be really, really quick out, so look for her to be right up near the front. The run up to that bike transition was very, very critical.
And super slippery too. You've got to be careful you don't slip. We saw a lot of the men lose a bit of time coming out of the water onto that sort of a plastic ramp, which is very steep on the bike. It looks easy in terms of the elevation changes, but it is anything from easy.
It's those turns that made that racing very, very tough, and we saw that especially this right-hand turn here and back onto the marina area where a lot of gaps were opened up. Mario Mola was exposed in the men's race. Aggressive riding will open this course right up for the front runners.
Yeah, we saw a couple of guys, Yao Pereira and Ben Dykstra, leave a little bit of skin on the cobblestones and the pavement there. The run, exactly the same course, and it's possible, as we saw, to gap people.
Well, this 90-second rule comes into play. We saw in the men's race more than half the field were eliminated. So in the women's race, let's see the aggressive racing, whether they can eliminate athletes early, and the run courses where you can do that.
All right, it's a tough one. It's more technical than we thought it was going to be. It's more difficult than we thought it was going to be. Less than half the field finished in the men's race. We'll see what happens. But let's get a more in-depth look, if you will, at the course with Vicky.
Out of the swim, straight up this ramp. It's long, it's narrow, there's only maybe 2 athletes wide that can fit up here, and on top of that we've got rungs on the left hand side. This could also get really slippy when it's wet. This is the first swim turn. We're 130 metres from the start pontoon, and the athletes will arrive at this point within 1 minute and 30 seconds of the start. They'll then have to negotiate a sharper than 90-degree turn, and they will be jostling for positions here. Expect it to get messy. So not only is this the swim exit ramp, it also acts as the entry ramp on 2 stages of the triple mix. The gradient is going to really play a factor here. It's so steep, the athletes are going to come flying down here, and they're going to have to show some caution. This is the first corner of the bike course where the athletes will come to when they're carrying any kind of speed at all. The angle of this corner is greater than 90 degrees. They're going to be changing road surfaces and have to be very mindful of the fact that athletes may be coming in the other direction, so they can't go over the midsection of the road. This is potentially the most dangerous corner on the bike course. The athletes will come down this downhill gradient, round this sharp 90-degree corner. They'll have to negotiate a change of road surface. Even though this bollard won't be here on the day, this drain cover will, and drama could happen right here.
I'm surprised that you, as the founder, just didn't leave that bollard up.
Well, we tried, but the athletes complained about it.
The athletes complained about it. There's already there's plenty of things to worry about out there in terms of the course. We've seen the carnage already, but the format itself, well, that lends itself to a lot of carnage. Let's have a quick run through of how the triple mix actually works. It's 3 stages with alternating sequences: swim, bike, run, bike, swim, run. 10 minutes in between stages. The first athlete crosses the line. Every athlete behind them pays the time that they lost in the second stage pursuit style, and in the third stage again. And then the first man across the line is the winner of stage 3 and the winner of the triple mix. We didn't think the 90-second rule would come into effect the way it did, but 14 men fell foul of it, and we will wonder whether that will happen in this one. But let's look at, people who we think might be at the front of it. And a lot of people have said, well, at least when I've been talking to the women, they point out Katie Zafiris, who's been incredibly consistent over the course of this season. Well, consistency's been the key to the success of this season. She's really improved the technical skills on the bike, which has been a flaw for her in the past, and she's paid with second in the world at the moment. We mentioned Non Stanford, 2012 under-23 world champ, and then 2013 world champ, the first person to step up and do it in consecutive years. Home crowd as well. What do you think? And she's had a soft season. She's come in here relatively fit. She's got something to prove. Non has proved in the big events she tends to rise to the occasion, and just looking at her at the hotel, she looks ready to race. Laura Lindemann from Germany is flying the German flag on both sides. We don't have anyone from Germany on the men's side. And she is, well, she didn't even do triathlon at the London Olympics, watched it, went to Rio. Yeah, she was a junior world champion, under-23 world champion. We've shown in Super League racing speed kills. She's one of the fastest athletes in the field. She's starting right next to Katie Zafiris in the start position in the swim. She can sit off that hip and set that race up for herself. Yeah, at just 21 years of age as well. We think maybe this course favours the younger with a little bit more fast twitch, but it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. It's coming up very, very soon. We are back, and we're just seeing them mill around a little bit down there on the pontoon. They will have watched the men's race and seen what happened, and I feel like there'd be more than a few butterflies going on. Yeah, this is when you start to get really, really anxious. We saw in the draw for the start positions where these athletes were set. When we saw at the men's race, that inside line was a big advantage. It split a little bit at the start of that swim too, and people obviously going in there knowing they've got to go full tilt and maybe not looking up when they need to look up.
Yeah. But what Alistair said in the men's race was quite interesting indeed. And you saw the right hand, the worst position, number 25 start slot. It gave you a little bit of free water. You did swim the furthest way around, but you notice those athletes got out and ran up the ramp a lot quicker than the others.
Certainly. Now, where they start on the pontoon is due to the slot draw that we had yesterday here, which is very interesting. Everyone choosing each other's slots, so whether they were nice or whether they weren't, well, it was very interesting. They were a bit rude to each other. Let's see how it all played out. It was very interesting to see how some of them just gave whoever their competitor was at the worst possible position, and some of them took it easy.
Yeah, that's been an interesting dynamic on both the men's and women's. I think, if anything, the women were more cruel to their competitors than the men were.
Yeah, absolutely. It finds out that Taylor Spivey actually gave Emma Jeffcoat number 1 spot. She'll start in the best spot, but anything could happen here. Let's have a look now at the start list for stage 1, at least. Emma Jeffcoat, as I said, she's in the number 1 position alongside dual Olympic pool swimmer Samira Albatara of Bahrain, Jodie Stimpson we've seen, Agnieszka Jezik, Desiree Rydner, only 18 years of age. She's fantastic on the run, look for her. Emmy Chararon, Emma Pallant, second at the 70.3 Worlds a couple of weeks ago. Sophie Colwell, another local talent. Nicola Spirig, 4 months after giving birth. Amazing. Melanie Santos of Portugal. Carolina Routier, who's also renowned for her swim, alongside Rachel Klammer, Charlotte Machane. Laura Lindemann, we've mentioned already, alongside Katie Zafira. So look for those two in the middle of the pack. There's a little US connection there. Summer Cook, Kirsten Casper, Barbara Riveros, Non Stanford and Lucy Hall. It's going to be there's a lot of interesting matchups there. Claire Michelle, Anastasia Abrasimova. It just worked out that the Russians happened to take all the wide spots.
Yeah, they did. And the Americans are all grouped together in the centre of the start position. That'll be very, very interesting. And the Russians all on the outside.
All right. Let's have a look. Well, let's actually throw down now to Vicky, who's down, I think, on the pontoon. It was fantastic to get that access in the men's race. Where are you, Vic?
Yeah, I'm here down on the pontoon. All of the crowd has stayed to watch the women's race, which is absolutely fantastic. We've got amazing crowds all over the marina right now. All the girls are on the start line. We've got an interesting slot draw again. Some of the girls are a little bit more tactical, potentially a little bit more brutal in their decision making of where they placed other athletes. We've got some of the stronger athletes right over on this far right hand side. We've got Taylor Spivey at slot 23. She was given that slot, won't be the slot she was hoping for. We've also got the 3 Americans, a trifecta of Americans at slots 14, 15 and 16 with Summer Cook, Katie Zafiras and also Kirsten Casper, so that's going to be an area to watch out for. We've also got Emma Jeffcoat at slot 1, she's got the inside line.
There's plenty of tactics set to come into play on this one. It's going to be a hugely important swim. We'll head down now to our commentary team, Ali Brownlee, Emma Snowsill and Trevor Harris.
Thanks very much indeed, Will. Yeah, we're just seconds away from the first ever Super League triathlon event for women. Interesting, some are portraying it as this USA versus GB, but we've got a couple of Aussies, Jeffcoat and McShane, of course, Rachel Klammer as well, to say nothing of Nicola Spirig, who has 2 Olympic medals. Stand by then for the start. 300 metres to swim, it looked pretty clean. Alistair Brownlee and Emma Snowsill have rejoined me here in the commentary box. So interesting, everyone seems to have a different view, Emma, as who potentially might win this, but I have a few fancies, certainly in the water. I think Santos might go well, Rucha we've mentioned, Sophie Colwell and Lucy Hall as well, we know is renowned for her swim.
Yeah, there's some fantastic swimmers in the field, and I think, you know, the conditions are as good as they can get in Jersey. It's certainly dry outside, isn't it? But the water is cool, and obviously, you know, it's a short swim, but these girls, I think there's enough adrenaline pumping through them for them not to feel it.
Interesting what you were saying, Alistair, in the studio. You had a feeling it might not be quite so full on in the women's race as it was in the men's. Why do you think that?
Yeah, it's always tough to know, but I think we saw that race split up like we did because of basically only 3 people being very aggressive from that first leg, and I just get a feeling we might not see that. Although saying that, you know, returning to the action, straight out the blocks, there's 3 of them there with a bit of a gap back to the rest of the field, and 2 people swimming really well at 2 girls swimming really well at the front. So it's going to be interesting to see it. And like we talked about before, in the men's, when people are swimming next to each other, like we see loads of them now. We can see Lucy Hall there just 2-ing on the camera shot. Normally a good swimmer, but already a good 10 metres down. When all of them swim next to each other, they're just slowing each other down. So one of those girls could actually get on the feet of the person in front of them, the person in third, but they can't because someone's or 2 people are actually on the hips. It's literally like being dragged back in the water, and that's why that gap's happened.
Well, I have to say that I have spoken to a number of the men that race, and I have heard that the men are brutal, but not quite as brutal as women, and certainly not the things I've encountered in the water at times. And you know, as much as you say, you know, these girls would be better off, but you can see a lot of them hitting each other over the head. I've had my togs pulled down, I've been pulled underwater, I've been swum over the top of. So there's something about the way the girls race in the water that they really, really somewhat even like to attack each other, if you could go as far as saying that.
Yeah, and that turn buoy they've gone round is really, really sharp as well. Just Jodie there, Jodie Stimpson, trying hard as she can to get on these leading 3. Currently in 4th place and trying to get to the front. And I'm pretty sure that's Sophie Caldwell here on the outside. And yeah, she's a bit of a dark horse here, like I was saying earlier. Great over the shorter distances. Really good kind of dynamic racer. Good swimmer, will really push on the first part of the bike probably. So it's good to see her at the front. And yeah, we're going to see who goes with her. She's normally pretty quick through transition.
Yeah, Sophie got a bronze at the Under-23 World Championship in Rotterdam just last weekend, so we know she's in form, and this is the kind of course that could suit her, both in the style of it and the duration as well. She's very good over short distances.
I think these young athletes have an advantage. We sort of saw that with Matt Hauser, you know, in Hamilton Island, where they're not really even overthinking it. You know, they're happy to be here. They feel privileged to be racing alongside the likes of someone like Nicola Spirig. And if anything, I think, you know, this sort of racing, it sort of lends itself to these young athletes as well. It's a perfect breeding ground, and I think, you know, rather than thinking too much about tactics, maybe we could just see them going out there and giving everything they can.
What do you think about Nicola Spirig's chances here, Asta? Because not only, we've mentioned she's just given birth to a 2nd child, she's fully 5 years older than anyone else in the field too.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Nicola Spirig does. I think she's an absolute star. The fact that she's done so well at the last 2 Olympics with hardly anything in between, I think just shows her and her coach are brilliant at getting it right when it counts, which is fantastic. I think she might struggle a bit here today. You know, she hasn't raced that much this year after just having a child, so I think that's not going to be good, but we'll see. I think she's a fantastic racer. Getting out of the water now, and Routier Caroline Routier from Spain ended up leading that swim at the end there, and obviously a great swimmer, leads most of the World Series, and this is where it splits like we saw in the men. Straight out of the water, up that ramp, and let's see how aggressively they get after it on the bike.
And especially with a couple of them slipping and sliding towards the rear of the field, and they're already under pressure, those who are in there. You can see the split first to last, and it is significant already, but Caldwell will be delighted with that swim, as will Jeffcoat.
It's nice to see an Australian up there. No, I think, like you said, Alistair, I think, you know, maybe the girls, and I did tend to think we did see that in Hamilton Island, particularly in the first race, that the girls might not be so aggressive, just finding their way, finding how, you know, how this whole thing works. So, yeah, obviously it can go either way, but far more bunched than what we saw in the men's first race.
Yeah, pretty closely packed with pretty much all the girls, all the way back to Emmy Charion and still Emma Pallant, good swim, you know, 20 seconds down in 20th place, less than that, and so the whole field compact in within 22 seconds, so it's close. And we're just seeing them head out in the bike effectively in one long line now. But that doesn't mean anything on this course. You know, it can still split up because of the technical nature of it. If people go hard around the first few laps and put people under pressure, it can split up.
Right, let's go down to transition. We can hear now from Vicky.
Yeah, the girls have just come flying past me through T1. Really good swims there from Sophie Caldwell and Emma Jeffcoat, Carolina Routier as well. A little bit off the pace, I thought, for Katie Zafiris and Summer Cook. And Nicola Spirig's got a lot of work to do, but then we've seen her come from this position many times.
Yeah, we have indeed, Vicky. And the other thing, Samira Albitar, of course, who swum for Bahrain at 2 Olympic Games in Athens and Beijing. She was actually plumb last out the water, so it just goes to show nothing is predictable in this form of triathlon, but we are right and up front now.
Yeah, as we expected, Sophie Caldwell been aggressive here on the early part of the bike. She had a good swim, was right up there, out second, and now she knows this is her chance to put people under pressure, and she's driving on. At this point, all she can do is commit to the race, and she can't even look at the people behind her for any help. I think for a couple of laps, she's just got to stick her head down, back herself, not take risks around corners, but go hard, and see where that ends up in at a few K in. I think with her, she's got Jodie Simpson. It's a great swim from her, and obviously Jodie's a great bike runner, so that's a good position for Routier and the young Lindemann from Germany, who's a fantastic up-and-coming athlete. I think 2014 world champion and European champion in the juniors, so it's great to see her competing on the world stage.
Well, we had Lucy Hall there and Nicola Spierig together, so interesting whether these two, gather themselves together and, whether they communicate and decide to really try and, well, there's obviously a gap at this point, but a few girls in front of them too. And Nicola's certainly known for taking charge on the bike and leading packs the whole 40-kilometre ride. So I think, once she finds her feet, so to speak, at this point in the race, she could also drag all the girls or even bring that whole group back together.
And she's only 10 or 11 seconds adrift. I reckon Non Stanford will be pretty satisfied with her swim and bike so far. She's about 10 seconds off the pace, and of course Non has been injured for much of this season, so we haven't seen too much of her. I guess you can look at that two ways, Ali. One, she might not be race fit, but on the other hand, she's coming in fresh.
Yeah, Non's had a tough year, similar to Johnny, up and down, injuries, illnesses and just problems, and you have those years in your career, but I think it's fantastic for her to be racing here, and hopefully she can get a good result. As we look at the race, these 5 girls at the front now are racing well, they're working well together. That's Jeff Coate just taking the lead to help Caldwell out a little bit. So I think these guys are going to be tough to catch. They're pulling the field apart, and I think probably within the women's field, you've got to look at a Spierig as probably the only kind of person who's got the firepower to start pulling this back.
Yeah, you'd probably say, well, maybe Flora Duffy's probably the only woman out who's, you could say, is equal to Spierig on the bike, because Spierig's reputation has been based largely on that. Of course, a gold medal that she won in London so dramatically in that sprint finish, and then a silver last year.
Well, Caldwell taking it on still, she's done 90% of the time on the front here, and good on her. She's really, really taking it on. Rachel Klammer just going through there, not in a good position with Spierig. Spierig coming through the field, just riding through people. We're seeing, she came out of the water with a few of the girls we're seeing now, and she's just ridden straight through the field, riding brilliantly. There's Lucy Hall, who was with Spierig only a lap ago and is now 15 seconds behind.
Yeah, Nicola has certainly always been very dominant on the bike. No matter where she gets out of the water, I mean, she just focuses on getting to the front of the race, and no matter what it takes. And in the years of racing her, she would always just continue to work, even if it took her the whole 40 kilometres, to bridge a gap. She would just continue to show her skills on the cycle leg, and I don't think we're going to see anything different.
This is all coming together. The front 10, I'm pretty sure within the next half lap there's going to be a group of at least 10 girls at the front, as those girls like Spierig and the 3 Americans in that group have brought it all back. Non Stanford also in that group, so bodes really well for her. Obviously, known as being a great runner. So all those people, those girls who haven't had to, work too hard to get back up at the front, are in a great position now.
Yeah, so already this is looking like maybe having a slightly different complexion to the men's race, where we saw 3 get away, 3 or 4 fairly quickly. This, as you say, appears to be 10 of them within, I don't know, just a few seconds of each other.
Yeah, and you can just see it. I mean, it's just they're not quite being quite as aggressive around the corners and really going for it. Well, there's Jodie Simpson on the front now. As I said, that she's been aggressive and attacking this race, and she's a great athlete. She races with her heart on her sleeve and races hard, and is very often aggressive and makes interesting watching. So yeah, she's going for that with Sophie Caldwell right on her wheel as well. They're training partners, train together, racing together. So I'm sure they're talking and deciding to push this on for both their advantages.
And we know that Jodie likes this kind of format, Alistair, because she was part of the same Commonwealth Games team as you that won the sprint gold medal in the relay.
Yeah, Jodie's she's a great athlete, but she likes this shorter stuff, I think, particularly, and she's good at it. Let's see now whether this group of girls, which is now the second pack, managed to get back on terms with the front pack. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be tough for them once some of these girls catch up with that lead group. I think well, it goes one of 2 ways in those scenarios, doesn't it? Either they all sit up and it slows right down, or someone else takes it on and really pulls it apart. So we'll see.
Well, the other name to be wary of there, I reckon, Emma, Summer Cook. We know how well she runs, and she's in that leading group too. We've hardly mentioned her, but she's in great position.
Look, I think this is what's so great about, you know, this is the first race. All these girls are getting a feel for it. We want to see what they can do too, and especially at these distances. I mean, yes, we know many of them are great over the short 2K. How does that play out in the next round and the next stage, and how does the fatigue affect them? So, yeah, I think at some point we're going to see, you know, the strengths of the athletes, you know, come through, but I just love to see that the girls are out there racing on the same course that we've seen the men do.
18 seconds currently between the first 18 out on the course. That tells you how close and congested it is.
I think we see actually what the athletes' weaknesses are as much as anything in this scenario. You know, we see both weaknesses in terms of individual events, but also getting tired and making mistakes. We didn't talk about it too much in the men's race because we didn't actually see it, but how many people actually got eliminated from crashing? Or so you know, you see people put under pressure, make dodgy decisions and end up crashing into barriers, and that's the race over, which is part of it really. You know, being able to keep cool under pressure, make good decisions at the right times, and you know, keep it all under control. I think we've seen them sitting up now, to be honest. It seems to slow down a bit, and these girls at the back, I mean, they're not having to cane themselves out those corners. In a technical race like this, traditionally you'd say you don't want to be too near at the back of a group because it makes it much harder. So the first person goes around at their speed, the next person leaves a 1 meter gap, and so on. By the time you get to the last person, there's lots of gaps and they have to sprint back on. But at this pace, it doesn't make that much of a difference because they're not really attacking it as such, and they're all sat on each other's wheels. So I think like Spirit, for example, is probably getting a reasonably easy ride.
Well, I was saying a moment ago that Samira Albatar was last out the water. She's actually fallen 90 seconds behind, so she's going to be the first casualty of this Women's Super League Triathlon, which means she'll play no further part this afternoon.
And this second group, led by Taylor Spivey, I think she's been on the front the entire time we've seen her on that group, so she's obviously working as hard as she can to get back involved. Lucy Hall just there, gone past, who's obviously having a bad day and has gone straight back through all the groups, and these girls must be a little bit back as well, so I think they're gonna they might struggle with the time rule, 90-second rule as well.
As we've seen those stages wear on, I mean, it might not be just quite in this stage, but it certainly becomes more apparent with these rolling starts, and that those time deficits, you know, that you lose in this first event, that you really can, it just starts stretching further and further out.
Yeah, and I think Jodie Stimpson's actually really taking it on now. She's decided, you know, probably with Sophie, to commit, and you just see those gaps starting to open up. You know, the back 2 or 3 athletes. I'm not sure if it was Americans, so maybe it's Zafira's, maybe Summer Cook, just starting to have a couple of meters off the back. They're probably going to get back on again, but you know, that sprinting back on is going to cost them, and how much is it going to cost them on this next 2K run and the next 3 races?
Well, I think it's good tactics from Jodie. You know, she doesn't want to, if she doesn't have to have someone like Summer Cook racing against her with a level start, at least put 5-10 seconds into her from Stimpson's point of view. Cook obviously will want to try and stay close because we know how good her run is.
Yeah, the last 2 on the pack, as we just see them come along the side of the waterfront there, is actually Summer Cook and Lon Stanford, who have both been distanced by about 5 meters each. So they're obviously finding it hard. They probably had to work quite hard to get back on terms with these girls, and you know, it's just taken its toll, all coming off in a big group. And the last one, I'm pretty sure that last one in is Summer Cook, so she's going to have about a 5-second deficit to run into like Jodie Stimpson, who's come off first in the early part of the run.
So Stimpson first into the shoes, but you can see he had to kind of go wide to avoid the other bikes coming in. It's a narrow transition.
Yeah, there you go, Summer Cook 7 seconds down on the entrance of transition, so you know, just being from the front of the back of that pack has cost, and 7 seconds over, you know, 2 kilometers is a big deal. It's really tough.
Well, that's right. Rachel Clemmer just leading out now, and yeah, she sort of was not really doing a whole lot on the bike. She was up the front, but she's certainly trying to take charge. Maybe Richard has been giving her a few tips.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, we saw Summer Cook has actually just went around that corner there, is running well, so I think she's going to do all she can obviously to get back involved in the race. It's going to be tough though. Even Emma Pallant coming at 45 seconds down, you know, if she was another outsider, I think you could have done well, a good bike runner, but 44 seconds down at this stage, I think she's going to struggle to get back on terms.
Yeah, that was Emmy Chariot just going out before her. Just going back to Rachel Clemmer, you mentioned, I've thought over the last 12 months maybe that she's starting to show some signs of real consistency. So she's always had 1 or 2 good races in her, but this year particularly, she's come more to the fore.
I think she's also gaining confidence in herself. You know, a lot of these athletes, you know, may have been around a lot and you know, may not have been on the podium, but they're consistently there and they're consistently trying to improve, and all those little things just add to their confidence. I mean, Rachel is certainly, you know, particularly racing a lot in Europe too, is also great on a bike and very technically savvy, and I think also used to racing this aggressively.
Here we are, Nicola Spirig taking it on. We were wrong to, even though she only had a child 4 months ago, we were wrong to bet against her, and doing what she knows best. She's on the run now. She's got clear ground in front of her, and she's just going to drill this and go as hard as he can to stretch it out, which is what we're seeing behind. It's Katie Zafiris going with her and not too far back, followed by Rachel Clammer and Jodie Stimpson, and they're doing all they can to stay on terms, I think. But yeah, I mean, this is good, aggressive racing now, and it's going to spread it out to go into the second leg.
No surprise at all to see Katie Zafiris prominent. She's one of those women that just never seems to have a bad race. I think the only thing I can think when she came off the bike recently in Stockholm, but that apart, she's always top 5, top 6. She has a fair share of podiums.
She came onto the scene fairly late, and I think the one thing she really has honed is her technical skills. I mean, she's obviously a fantastic endurance athlete and has had that, but she has been able to make those improvements through, you know, particularly on the bike, and just realizing that she's truly capable. I think she's just taken on that ability and her strength of what she can do and just continue to hone it, and look where it's helped her finish up in the world this year.
Yeah, definitely. I think she's obviously got a natural endurance engine, and she's just built on that to give her a good skill base, which is now she's racing so much better. And we're seeing again, you know, Nicola Spirig still on the front, pushing it along. Just what a natural racer. Brilliant. She knows out what to do and when to do it. She's running around the corners faster than the rest of them. Like every time she goes around the corner, she seems to speed up just that little bit to try and put them under pressure. Great to see.
Emma Jeffcoat, we just got a glimpse of, who was first out the water, but now starting to struggle on the run. Remember, just 2 laps of 1 kilometre each, and then they'll have the 10-minute rest period, and the next stage will be run, bike, swim. So still Nicola Spirig. This is a phenomenal performance from the Swiss. It really is so far.
Yeah, 3 fairly clear here with Spirig, Zafiris and Mikel from Belgium, and the remaining girls trying to not lose too much time now. Of course, you know, they're looking. It's the trade-off between going too hard here and you know, getting back in terms with these girls and not being able to run later and losing time. The group behind, led by 2 Ritz Caldwell and Jodie Stimpson. And they're just, you know, obviously running together. They're training partners, and they'll be egging each other on and trying not to lose too much time.
Claire Michel is an interesting one. She was lapped in the Olympics. Her mum was a former Olympic swimmer. And she's put herself in a prominent position here. And I think not a name that too many would have expected to be up front, but certainly she started well.
Yeah, but that's what we keep saying, isn't it? This format, we're not quite sure what's going to happen, and people that you wouldn't necessarily expect and might not race so well at the standard format of triathlon do really well, but she looks comfortable here.
Let's go down to Vicky. I think you can add something to the Claire Michel story, Vicky.
Yeah, Claire Michel's been on the scene a little while, but has had a real mix of results, especially this year. She started off really well with a couple of World Cup podiums early on, but she sort of struggled in the middle part of the year to really back that up. And what we know of Claire Michel is that even though her background has been in swimming and steeplechase running, her swimming's not been as good in the last sort of few rounds of the World Series. But today, she's put herself in the mix, and she looks super comfortable there, just tacking onto the back of those really established runners in both Katie Zafiris and Nicola Spirig.
Yeah, she's in the rarefied air, isn't she, Emma, of those 2 established names, Spirig and Zafiris.
That's Summer Cook just moving through the field. I think she's in 4th place now, so she's done quite well coming off the bike. 7 seconds down, she's had to run some good time into those girls in front. You know, it just shows if she's probably 3 or 4 seconds down there. If she'd come off the bike nearer the front, she should be in front now and have a bit of a lead. That shows how important just positioning the bike pack can be. I think Zafiris is actually trying to move it on a bit here. She looks like she's starting to put Spirig under a bit of pressure.
And she looks really comfortable too,
I was going to say, I think Katie's become very good at controlling even her face and emotions. She really looks calm and collected, doesn't she?
Don't play poker with her.
Yeah, definitely not.
moving it on, and there's literally they're in the last 500 meters now, and I think that these three are playing the game a bit. They know they if they go hard, they can get more time on the people behind them, but if they go too hard, they've only got 10 minutes rest until that next 2-kilometer run. So yeah, it's quite interesting, tactically balanced, and I think Summer Cook's actually going to catch them and finish with them by the time she gets to the finish line. Yeah, she's on 5 meters. She'll have caught them probably by the next corner, I would have thought.
And I think that was the danger. That's what I was saying with triathletes like Jodie, and not just Jodie, others as well. They didn't push the bike maybe hard enough or as hard as they wanted to, and that plays into the hands of exactly those like Summer Cook, who can run so well.
Yeah, well, we saw Summer Cook just starting to hurt at the end of that bike, bungeeing off the back, and so it was costing her in terms of time and energy. Had that bike been just a little bit harder, or had it been a bit longer, it could have been a bit of a different story to her, but it wasn't, and so she's here now. She's managed to run herself back up on terms of them, and she's going to start the next race in the front four, and Claire Michel pushing it now. She's really going in this last 200 meters now and trying to get all the time she possibly can.
Yeah, so Michel with Spirig, Zafiris and Cook, that is your leading quartet.
This must be the track runner in Michelle here, pushing it on and knows the finish line's in sight. And she's actually managed to get a bit of distance there on Zafiris and Summer Cook again, who's obviously had to run so hard to get back on terms. And she's actually sprinting for the finish. So she really wants those time every second she possibly can get.
Well, impressive, very impressive from the Belgian. Also, Nikki Spirit's going to finish a second down. Zafiris right behind, and then Summer Cook. And then a little gap, but you can see how strung out they are behind. I think that's Jodie Stimpson about to come across the line now. Yes, it is.
Sophie Caldwell as well. Yep. They've done most of the race pretty much shoulder to shoulder, and 13 seconds down. That's quite a long time gap, but still, still in contention. And Casper coming in there, Caroline Routier. Yeah, she's done all right. Not always known for running strength, so 25 seconds down. I think that's not too bad. Going back to Barbara Rivieros here, and Taylor Spivey there from the USA coming across the line. So, I think it's still all to play for, really.
Well, let's go and hear from the winner of that first stage then, because Claire Michel is with them.
Claire Michel, you just out-sprinted an Olympic champion in the first round of Super League.
I think she's a very wise athlete, so I'm sure she's got a long-term plan in place. This one is not the one you need to win. You need to win the last one.
So a tactical move from you for the next two stages?
For me, as much of an advantage as I can give myself, the better. We'll go from there. We still got 2 more rounds to go. I'm going to recover.
Go recover. Look forward to seeing you complete the rest of the afternoon.
Well, she's clearly a smart athlete. Well, her and Nicola Spirig, because it didn't appear as though she was struggling particularly. I don't think she extended herself to the absolute maximum, but she won it. Cross the line together with Spirig, a couple of seconds away, Zafiris. That won't be a problem for the next stage. Summer Cook very close as well. And then Klammer and the 2 Brits, Caldwell and Stimpson on the premises, along with Kirsten Casper, who we've hardly mentioned, Alistair, but she's a pretty consistent athlete too.
Yeah, very consistent athlete, and she's a pretty solid all-rounder as well, so it's great to see her up there. It's going to be really fascinating to see how fast they go out the blocks here. Is Michelle and Spirig, are they going to absolutely take it out and think we're going to hit this first K as hard as we can, get a gap and see what happens, or are those first 4 going to come back together?
Mon Stanford way back some 54 seconds, and you can see there that Lucy Hall and Maria Schuretz have both been eliminated. They've both fallen a minute 30 plus behind, so maybe not as many casualties yet as on the men's side, but you cannot afford to coast in this sport.
Absolutely not.
Well, it's standing room only. There's 6 or 7 deep in places. Every possible vantage point taken. It's an absolutely glorious day. Temperatures just above 20 degrees. Wouldn't mind seeing a few more events on Jersey, Alistair.
Yeah, absolutely lovely. Like we were saying before, first time I've ever been, but I really regret never been before. And it's just such a great venue for a triathlon. This marina is beautiful, set up perfectly. The crowds lining the edge of the marina and the course just seem to be absolutely loving it and creating a great atmosphere.
Okay, let's go down and speak to Jodie Stimpson. She's with Emma.
Jodie, first leg done, first stage of the triple mix done. How did you find that?
You mean I've got to go again?
You got to go again.
That's it, got to go, not finished. No.
Two more times.
It's bloody tough, eh? It's like I don't think I'd say it, but like I'm one of the older ones in the field. And these like rapido ones are like chipping at the heels. I was like just trying to level off with Sophie, my training partner, so it's good fun.
Solid first outing, but got some more in the legs?
I bloody hope so.
Brilliant. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you.
You've got to admire Jodie Stimpson's honesty, and she's 28 years old. Okay, there are a few younger than her, but she's really not that old. Jodie Stimpson some 13 seconds off the pace. That might not be terminal potentially for her.
No, I don't think it is, and this next one's going to be really interesting. Like we said, are those first 2 and 4 really going to push it on and take it on the first run? Will they leave Jodie with a chance to get back in? You know, does she run fresh 2K? Is she going to run better than she did off the bike, where she had worked hard, and she did the majority of the work with Sophie Caldwell on that bike. So it'll be interesting to see straight out the blocks how quick she can run. I expect Jodie will go out quick, and how well she holds on for 2K, we'll see.
Yeah, and she'll have a training partner right with her, Sophie Caldwell too, which could be an advantage. Interesting interviews out there.
Look, I think she's an interesting athlete, one to watch. And I think if you come from a steeplechase track background, I think you have to know your tactics, you have to know how to race, and as she said, you know, Nicola knows what she's doing out there. So yeah, Nicola might have a shadow out there all day.
Yeah, she was great on that run, sat where she needed to, third position, probably saving herself a little bit of energy for most of it, and then with 200 or 300 metres to go, popped out and came round her, you know, classic track running tactics, and good on her.
I was going to ask you, Alistair, and obviously we don't want to hark back to the illness that you had on Hamilton Island, but in more of a general sense, how much of this kind of an event is in the head as opposed to the legs?
Well, it depends on the person, and obviously there's a lot of both involved. At the end of the day, if you've got the physiology and you haven't got the mind, you've got no chance, and vice versa.
A glorious backdrop, and stage 2 coming up. Blue sky, a huge number of spectators lining the course, and perfectly set up for stage 2 of this inaugural Women's Super League triathlon. We're in the triple mix. Claire Michel with an inspired performance in that first stage. Nicola Spirig just keeps turning back the clock. Katie Zafira is ever consistent. Summer Cook, we know how well she runs. Klammer also was always one of those who were likely to be in the mix, and then the two Brits, Caldwell and Stimpson. And are the rest too far behind him for you, like Casper's 24 seconds or not?
I think this is, yeah, we're going to see it first up. We're going to see it right now on the run. I think that's where it's going to become apparent. And look, if we saw it in the men, I think it's highly likely we are going to see it in the females as well. And the front runners, who, you know, the ones who are taking charge of this race already, certainly also know how to run. And I think that's just going to continue to extend through, well, the reverse triathlon, let's call it.
Yeah, I don't want to state the obvious here, but you know, if you've come in the top few in the first race, you're obviously the fastest few, and you're probably going to go fastest in the second one. I know the order's different, and I know it's a slightly different kind of stimulus and a slightly different feeling, but yeah, I think those girls obviously ran significantly faster than everyone else in the field, and the likelihood is they're going to again.
Well, Katie Zafira was one of the real favourites before the event, fancied by so many people. She was great in that first stage. She's down, as you can see, with Vicky.
Katie, we're just about to go for phase 2 of today's triple mix. Good start there. You look really solid, really comfortable. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I was a little worried right after the race. I felt like my tummy was a little upset, but thankfully right now it seems settled, so I hope it just stays that way for the next, like, however long it takes us, 20 minutes or so.
Have you got any specific tactics you want to play out in this second leg?
I think hanging with those two would be a good strategy, at least to bike with someone. I mean, I know Nicola's strong on the bike, so hopefully I can stick with her.
It's good company to be in, and you're looking in great shape.
Thank you very much.
We wish you all the best for the second and third phases.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Zafira is fully aware of Nicola Spirig's strength on a bike. I think everyone in the triathlon world is. Will it be any kind of a test for Claire Michelle as to try and stay with those two or not?
Well, let's see. She managed to do it in the first race, you know, quite convincingly, and I think she ran that race and was fairly comfortable, and we could see that at the end. So I've got no doubt that she's going to be there on the run. I think she's going to be fine on the bike, and then let's see on the swim at the end. Well, we've heard that the swim is probably her weakness, and swimming at the end of a triathlon should just kind of exasperate that. So we'll see, and that's the fantastic thing about this. We never quite know.
Well, if anyone's used to this sort of start, she is, isn't she? You know, from the get-go with the run shoes. But it'd be interesting to see where Jodie. She's you know, had a frustrating few years. I mean, in her own words, she said this, and we've certainly seen her at the top of her game. But I just wonder how she's going to continue to claw back, because I think she really wants to take her frustration out in racing at the moment. And you know, these sorts of events and races like this is where, you know, we could see a little bit more changing. Whether she's like, you know, I need to be back up there. I need to be up with those three girls. I know I'm capable. You know, where some of these the strengths of the mental game starts coming in now.
Jodie's a fighter, so she possibly can get back up there. She's gonna, and she's got the benefit of being able to set off just with her training mate, who she's having a kind of very nice chat with now. So I think she's going to set off hard. I think they're going to work together, and if they're together, even if they don't lose much time on the run, and she's got the chance to work together with Sophie on the bike, I think that could be their chance to get back on terms with the leading three.
Yeah, that could be a real distinct advantage. And I echo completely what Alistair was saying, Emma, about Claire Michelle. When you spoke to her, it did strike me that she'd gone absolutely full throttle. I think she was talking about the tactics of Spirig. I think she had some of her own. Stand by then, we're just about set for stage 2. Run, bike, swim this is. And the three main protagonists from that first stage, Michelle, Spirig and Zafiras away.
So they look like they're staying off fairly comfortably here. Michelle's just, well, she doesn't look like she's going too hard. Either that, she's got a very relaxed face on it. But yeah, let's see. I would expect Spirig to take it out hard if she possibly can. I think it's the only way she knows how to race.
36 seconds. Must be a frustrating wait, that, when you're held on the start line, just watching your rivals going further and further away.
Oh, it would have to be the worst part, I think, of these events. Yeah, exactly like you said, just seeing your rivals go off, and yeah, it can either crush you or you know, inspire you to go that little bit harder. So interesting to see how it's going to play into the hands of some of those athletes.
You see Katie Zafiras there has just got straight back on the back, and Summer Cook's not far off. So those first four are pretty much together. I think that means that the first two have not taken it out really, really hard, and they're all back together. So I expect to see that group of four probably run around the rest of the run together and be onto the bike, which I think will probably make it a bit slower, and might give Rachel Clammer, Jodie Simpson and Sophie Caldwell a chance to get back in this race.
I'd have to agree with you there. I think the same. I mean, they certainly didn't look like they had turned the pressure up straight away, whereas as Katie seemed more tactical. I need to get back with those two, and I need to stick together, and that, well, now it's a group of four of them up front. So Nicola, again, I think she just loves to race. At the end of the day, she's been doing it for so long. I think maybe she just prefers to race and do as much training these days. She thrives in this environment.
Yeah, good on her. Obviously, we all train to race, so why not get all the racing out you can? And she obviously loves races and thrives on it. At the moment, she's pushing it on, doing what she does best, and we've got Claire Michelle chilling at the back, you know, taking it a bit easier, saving energy, and maybe that's the track running in her. You know, she knows where's best to run to save that. Even if it's only 1%, 0.5%, it's worth it.
I think it was inevitable almost from birth that Nicola Spirig was going to be involved in sport. Both her parents were PE teachers. She organises these triathlon days in Switzerland now, try and get the youngsters into the sport. She's just a great ambassador for triathlon.
She truly is. I mean, she's been around long before I entered the sport, and was someone that you know, I looked to and watched and tried to emulate, and always knew of Nicola. I mean, you would just be prepared at every time you could see her on the course, on the bike. You know, where was she? She was up the front of the chase group, and it was just a matter of time, you know, that she would work her way through. But she has been around, consistent racer, and just speaking to her, she said she does. She loves racing. Of course, she loves the training too, but you know, when you've got that many years behind you, I think you can get out there. You know, the body's got a blueprint for being able to just, you know, get that adrenaline and excitement for racing out, and this is where she just shines.
I think we've got Katie Zafiris on the front now making a bit of a move. It looked like it was just stretching out around that corner, and probably Michelle on the back just hanging on a little bit, but it come back together again. Behind them we saw Caldwell and Stimpson have caught up Clammer, and those three are running together now, and I'd expect those three to work together for the rest of this race to try and catch up.
Yeah, because you kind of think from those leading four's point of view now, if you don't work really hard, you've almost kind of wasted to a degree all the effort you've put in up to this point.
Yeah, definitely. And if we listen to the interviews that the guys did before, Christian Blumenfeld said, yeah, you know, we've already got that gap. There's no point losing it now. We might as well keep pushing and increase our chances of doing well. And of course, that's what triathlon and sport's all about. This is Sophie Caldwell on the front, really pushing hard. So, you know, she's dragging these other two girls behind, and not always known for running it in terms of traditional triathlon formats, but I think over the short distance it really suits her, and you know, we're seeing that she's pushing it on, and you know, I think making a good move here.
Kirsten Kasper there, as consistent as ever, just in behind, and you can see they're almost kind of little separate groups now with 30-40 meter gaps in between.
Yeah, I think we're really seeing it spread out, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see quite a good few of these eliminated at the end of this round.
So this is coming through transition then to complete the first lap of two. Charlotte McShane there, who's had a few excellent results this season. Stage two of the women's triple mix, then it's the gang of four up front. Claire Michelle, Nicola Spirig, Katie Zafiris and Summer Cook. And remember, after this run they'll be onto the bikes, and this time they'll finish with the swim, which, Emma, carries its own challenges, not something they're used to.
Certainly a very unfamiliar feeling to be getting into the water after completing two of the other triathlon legs, and you know, I don't know how much training you can possibly do to counter that. We're accustomed to feeling, you know, fairly ordinary sometimes, you know, from the bike to run. But when all the blood has been in your legs for those two disciplines, and, you know, to try and shunt it all back into your arms, I mean, you can sometimes be the greatest swimmer, feel amazing in the water, and get in thinking, oh, I don't think I've ever done this before.
Yeah, is there anything you could do, Alistair, to try and kind of help get used to something that you're plainly not used to, especially bearing in mind, you know, these women, along with the men, a lot of them were running in Rotterdam in a standard triathlon a week ago.
You can train for it, obviously, and we actually saw some of the men in a short-term kind of way on the run-in in the men's race, swinging their arms before they started the swim. So after transition, I'm not sure if that would make any difference. Maybe they've tried it, maybe it does, but we'll see. We're actually seeing Zafiris still on the front, trying to push this along. And to be honest, if I was Summer Cook here and I knew that maybe my biking and my cornering, as we've just seen, I'd struggle with a bit, I'd want him to get to the front of this group, get a little 4 or 5 second gap, and that would just give me that buffer to get around the first, have a more relaxed transition, and there she is.
Bang on cue.
Taking note.
Bang on cue, yeah. Maybe she ears are burning. And I think it looks like they could have extended the lead a bit to these three girls behind, who Jodie Stimpson still pushing really, really hard on the front of this group. And let's see how much it's taken out of these girls when they get on the bike, because I think that will have cost them a little bit, and how much these girls are going to push. We'll see if they've got any chance of coming back together. But Summer Cook has got a bit of a gap there, so she's definitely doing the right thing here to give herself a bit of an advantage going into the start of the bike.
Yeah, so 2 Americans, a Swiss and a Belgian. Remember, Summer Cook, a shock winner of a big race in Edmonton a couple of years ago. Nicola Spirig into transition.
Yeah, Spirig's transitions will be good. You know, she's good, solid athlete, does things clinically and well, so you wouldn't expect her to mess up. And Summer Cook, who had a couple of seconds advantage going in transition, now is getting on the bike. Well, yeah, she's going to leave transition in 4th place behind, so that's exactly why she should have tried to get into transition with a bit of a gap. And we'll see if she can hang on to those girls around the start of the bike. similarly, Clamor as well. She's lost Jodie and Sophie Caldwell. So, and they're both great bikers and technically pretty good, and their transition's pretty good. You know, clean getting on the bike, jump straight on the bike. We see some girls take a bit of time weaving all over the course and putting one foot over, and that's really slow. You know, you lose 5 seconds doing that. So they're straight out, and that could cost you in this kind of race. That could cost you the entire race.
Yeah, you could see Cook's transition not as good as either Stimpson's or Caldwell, and as we thought, the latter two ran together for the whole of that 2,000-metre run.
Yeah, we're seeing 18th, the young Canadian rider now, who's a great runner. Apparently a Canadian 3,000-metre record holder, down 1 minute 8. So, and that's only 18th, and so is 15th with Charlotte McShane. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a lot of eliminations after these rounds. So these girls really need to push this bike. They've only got 20 seconds to lose over a 7K bike, a 300-metre swim. That doesn't give you much of a cushion, does it?
Well, talking of great runners, I think Vicky's got something for us down in transition.
I think I've seen that was a fantastic transition from Nicola Spirig. Also Katie Zafiris, the two of them got out so fast that Claire Michelle barely got on the back of them. Summer Cook, unfortunately, once again seems to have been a bit of a victim of her transitions and is off the back of that pack now, and it could just be the three of them going away.
Nicola Spirig's got a gap here. She took 2 of those corners really well. Whoever was the wheel behind her didn't get a chance to see, let a gap open up, and now this is a really dangerous scenario for the 3 behind. You do not want to give Nicola Spirig any kind of gap on this kind of course, and let's see, this is the only straight flat bit of the course for them really to get back on turn. So if they don't do it with Claire Michelle there on the front pulling hard to try and get back on terms with it, if they don't do it by this top corner, I think this could be a Spirig getting away, to be honest.
Well, she is without question still one of the best bikers in women's triathlon, and you let her go at your peril, as you say. The only thing is, you suspect, depends obviously what the gap is. I mean, she won't be fazed by riding on her own for 5Ks, not a problem. But then you'd say Zafiris is probably going to outswim her, so she'd claw back some of that. It's kind of so much in their head here. But you've got to admire the bold tactics of the Swiss.
A lot of cat and mouse, isn't it? I think, you know, not only is she, you know, looking to extend her gap, but even the girls, what we talked of, that 90 seconds, you know, she's happy to probably take and eliminate as many of them as she can too. But again, yeah, Katie is fantastic in the water, and that's what she's got to be really aware of.
So here is the breakaway off the front.
Motorbike getting in the way there, you know, it's just cost Nicola Spirig a couple of seconds going around that corner, and gave a chance for a couple of them to get on the back. I think that's Claire Michelle, oh no, one of the Americans, probably Zafiris, working hard to get back on terms. Spirig's really pushing as hard as she can here, using the motorbike till it's full advantage. But that's what she's doing, and yeah, spreading it out. Even if they get back on terms, she's hurting them, no doubt about it. And it's spread out. Look, completely spread out. There's Zafiris on her own, Michelle back there, also being dropped, and Summer Cook just doing all she can to hang on. Obviously, it isn't the most comfortable round corners. Too big a gear there coming out that corner, no doubt about that. She struggled to turn it over. Whereas Spirig just looks comfortable on a bike. She's just got a lovely position, nice corners smoothly, not taking any risks, and pedals well.
So here's my question to you, Emma. Do you think she had this in mind all the time as a plan, or do you think it was just an opportunist move to break away now?
Oh, absolutely. Nicola, she knows the strength she has on the bike. She utilises it all the time. And knowing that the other 3 girls are not as great, you know, in the corners, the dead turns, she knows, you know, how to conserve energy, how to expend, you know, others, and definitely tactical. She is just such a methodical racer, and she goes out there with that in mind, you know, just to make the most of her strength, and we clearly see it on the bike, and I mean, we know she can run as well, so she's always been a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and she doesn't turn up just to take part. We saw in the grand final she'd hardly appeared at all. In fact, she hadn't appeared on the WTS tour. Finished a very creditable 13th. As Alistair mentioned earlier, she didn't do much between the 2 Olympics, still got a silver, and no disgrace coming second to Gwen Jorgensen. And here today again at a format that you wouldn't maybe necessarily think would suit her, and she's making a statement of intent to the whole of the field, including all the youngsters here.
She's done a lot of damage there. We just saw the gap go up from Sophie and to Sophie and Jodie from 16, 17 seconds in one lap up to 22 seconds. So that gap's gone right up. That said, you know, Katie Zafiris isn't far off. She's hanging in hard there. So, you know, I think Nicola will want a gap. Like you said, Nicola will know that Katie will swim a bit of time into her, and she'll want that time gap going into the swim. So she's doing well, riding technically really well to stay on terms of her.
Just heard, sorry Emma, just going to say, just heard that Non-Stanford is right on the cusp of elimination, so she could be out shortly.
Yeah, she's with 4 or 5 of her girls as well, so I think we're going to see quite a bit of elimination in this next 10 minutes of racing. But yeah, Spirig's still on her own driving, and I think Zafiris is just, you know, once you're about 10 metres behind someone, even a bit further, you're just getting that draft advantage, so it's that little bit easier. If that gap goes out to 20, 30 metres, you know, you're both pushing the same amount of air away from each other. If that gap is less than that, and it is at the moment, you've got that advantage, so you expect the catch to be made. That said, Summercook and Michelle there have fallen even further behind, 10, 12 seconds, so they're losing quite a bit of time and riding really hard. So what Spirig's doing is just blowing the race apart here, so fantastic racing.
Well, Non-Stanford has just been eliminated, and she's down with Vicky.
Non, not the day you will have wanted, I know, but it's been a hell of a season for you. There's been so many ups and downs. I guess just being here is kind of part of it.
Yeah, definitely to get myself in the start line. Last week I was really poorly, and I've actually been really ill all morning, so I just thought I'd get myself out there, give it a good crack, and I'm sort of surprised to get this far around, and the girls are absolutely smashing out there. That first round was really tough, so yeah, happy to be here and I've given it a crack, but that's life.
Well, we hope we see you tomorrow morning and feeling a bit fresher and hopefully over a bit of illness.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Thanks, Non.
Thank you.
So Non gone, we wish her better. Elena Danilova of Russia also eliminated. Not been a good week for her. She was lapped in Rotterdam in the grand final.
And Zafiris has actually caught Spirig, so we can just see the aerial shot there of the two of them together, and yeah, here we see. So she's done really well to ride back up to Spirig technically and obviously strength-wise, and good on her.
I think that's something we talked of earlier. She's got an engine, she really does, and she's just honed her skills, and to get back on to the likes of someone like Nicola Spirig, you've got to be riding very well.
Yeah, she looks a bit more tentative around the corners when you look at her. Spirig is a classically better bike rider, lower centre of gravity, which is what you need to get around corners fast. Just looks comfortable, but you know, Zafiris has put time into and caught her, so you know, whatever works, and that's good to see. Let's see how much time the two of them have put into the girls behind them now, because that gap's opening up.
Yeah, I think she deserves immense credit. She had that nasty crash in Stockholm, and then she got up and she raced and rode with Flora Duffy, going around corners hell for leather, and now she's doing it here with another one of the greatest bikers in the sport.
Yeah, and you see the two girls behind them who are in Summercook and Claire Michelle, who are, I'm absolutely sure they are riding as hard, if not harder, and quite possibly putting down a similar kind of wattage, but they've lost a lot of time around the corners. You can just see them more tentative, quite often in the wrong gear, so much slower coming out, having to put so much more effort to get back up to speed. So this is where the kind of technicality into it comes so much. And Zafiris has actually gone in front of Spirig here and is taking it on.
Well, you look at the gap back, and these two, you would say, now have the points between them. 25, remember, for winning, 21 for coming second. So, you know, those two are absolute prime position. You would imagine Zafiris would outswim Nicola Spirig, but stranger things have happened.
Well, I was going to say there's a lot of things we've imagined already before the race, and they're not necessarily playing out. But yeah, Katie's strength is been in the water that we have known. But again, you know, her other two disciplines are proving to be just as incredible.
I would expect to see Spirig try to get a bit of a run on her through transition here, you know, a really good clinical transition and nail it down to the swim start. They've probably got, I don't know, 30 seconds of running probably, you know, she might get a few seconds there, and then obviously it takes a few seconds to get past someone in the water and make the pass, so she'll be trying to neutralise that as much as she can, and then you've got the run out the water. really, really good, clever, and there you go. You know, she knows she can get just those few seconds and make Katie have to swim round her. That means she can get on her hip, get the advantage, then get on her feet, and by the time she's done that, they're 100 metres into the swim. She's limiting her losses. Yeah, there might be even more. So she's doing absolutely the right thing. She's gone for the goggles down the front. Probably we didn't see that too much in the men, and goggles and hat. So she didn't have to get down to pick anything up. So the absolute fastest type of transition.
She's methodical. She really is in every part of racing and transition, and she just knows what works for her. And her transitions are always clean, always smooth. She never rushes to the point where she makes a mistake. And like you said, I think with Alistair, you said she just uses and utilises every little part of the race all the time.
I remember a race earlier this year where she actually dropped her sunglasses on the run, and she actually went back and picked them up. And I said to her afterwards, I don't think you'd have been penalised. And she's like, no, covering all bases, can't risk it. And that's what she does. And she has been rewarded here by being in the leading two with Spirig, and they've got a sizable advantage. Remember, this is stage 2 of 3 stages on this first day in the triple mix, and there you see a commanding lead over the rest of the field for that duo.
That is not what she'll have wanted, though. Like we were just talking about, if she'd hit the water first, her chances of staying with Zafiras would have been that much more, and she's hit the water second there, or actually straight on the feet, and she's having to swim 10 or 20% easier being on the feet. But if she could just have hit the water first, it would have really helped her out.
Well, she may become frustrated at something because she ended up throwing her goggles just before she dived in. So whether or not she was just fiddling around too much and just thought, you know what, I'm losing time, you've got to cut your losses at some point, don't you? But look, I think, you know, if she does lose a little bit of time, I don't think it's going to really significantly hurt her chances for the rest of the afternoon.
Summer Cook was actually the big loser in that last. I don't know what happened to her in the last lap of the bike, but all of a sudden she came into transition with a really, really slow dismount behind Jodie and Sophie Caldwell and Rachel Klammer, and then by the time she's out of transition, she was a few seconds behind them still. So she's lost a bit of time there in the last lap of the swim, and that's going to cost her. We're actually seeing a gap be created here. So Zafiras is going to put time into Nicola Spirig. Nicola Spirig isn't, well, she should be swimming directly behind her as much as she can to get every bit of advantage she can. But you can just see, I mean, Nicola Spirig, the great athlete she is, isn't known for her swimming absolutely short arm stroke there with pretty much zero catch through the water. When you look at how Zafiras is swimming, beautiful long stroke, really good catch, probably doing 3 strokes to every 2 Spirigs and still moving so much better. So yeah, that's what you see with a swimmer, someone who's got a really good swimming stroke. Wish I could swim like
that. You don't do badly.
The Americans are certainly, you know, they're renowned in their college swimming, aren't they, for just honing, you know, the skills in the water. And when you see a swimmer in the water, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's any triathlete in the world that can look as good as somebody that's done that for, you know, for their Olympic career.
Now, the collegiate system in the States, certainly as far as triathlon is concerned, has worked absolute wonders for their program on the women's side, not so much the men's, but certainly on the ladies' side.
Yeah, and we're seeing the group behind have really concertinaed back together, actually. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8 of them back together. You know, I don't think we would have predicted that on the last few laps of the bike. So that's a really interesting dynamic that they're all back together. See who's going to get an advantage of one of the others coming out the water. Spirig's hanging on pretty well, actually, after that initial gap went out. You know, that could have been curtains there. She could have lost loads of time, but she's hanging in there, and she'll be absolutely just trying to limit her losses here now. That's the right thing to do. Doing a classic boy turn around there, going onto her back for 1 stroke to try and get around faster. I spent my whole career trying to work out if that is a faster way to get around the boy or not. I don't know. We could argue that forever, but we're here to watch the racing. So Zafira still swimming beautifully well and extending that gap.
Yeah, it's currently probably about, 6 or 7 metres. And remember, the next stage is bike, swim, run. So, you know, if that ends up being the deficit, fairly easy to imagine that Nikki Spirig would catch Zafiras. They'll be biking together again, sure.
You would have thought so, but, you know, Nicola had a gap, probably a 5 or 6 second gap on that bike, and Zafiras got back on terms with it. So, yeah, we're not quite sure. I think if that had been the Spirig of a few years ago, it might be a bit different, but who knows as it is at the moment. And that gap, I don't know. Let's see how much she can catch up on the run-in, but I think there's going to be probably at least 5 or 6 seconds. It might be a bit more.
Yeah, certainly increasing. And just to the naked eye, it appears that the group that are behind Nicola Spirig maybe just making some inroads on the Swiss as well, albeit there's still a significant margin behind, but it's going to be a real battle for for times behind these leading two. So Katie Zafiris is out and away. Nicola Spirig behind her.
She's got a 200-metre run now. They've got to get out back along the pontoon, up the ramp, and all the way back through transition. So, you know, there's definitely a few seconds to be had there. Whether you've got the lungs and the arms and the legs to do it, and here we are. Zafiris has made it up the ramp and is on the flat, and yeah, Nicola Spirig is just back on the flat as well. So there's actually not that much time there, maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Loads of them coming out of the water together now. That whole group has got right back together, and that's Jodie Stimpson at the back of the group. So she was pretty much mid-group going into the swim, and has lost a few places throughout that swim, but held on still. So looking for the points overall, she's in a good position in that group going into the last event.
Yeah, so this might be, I don't know, 10 seconds or so by the time we do the official timings. Whether it'll be enough for Zafiris to get away solo on the bike, if that's what she wants to do, remains to be seen. And those in behind Spirig, the likes of Cook and Caldwell, Stimpson, Casper, Lindemann potentially. So Zafiris is first across the line. And we'll just wait and see Spirig home.
Yeah, I think Spirig was pretty happy with that. You know, going into the swim, she knows she could lose a bit of time. 6 seconds is not too bad. I think she'll be confident she can have a really good go catching that up. And yeah, she's walked straight through. Haven't had to do the interview and you know, reduce the rest straight through.
Okay, so as that group come over the line, we can cross down to Emma. I believe she's got Katie Zafiris with her.
Well, Katie, you're riding with the Olympic champion out there, but you're actually giving her a run for her money. Tell me, is this all part of a tactical move?
It's great to have Nicola because I know she knows what she's doing, and she's done this for a lot longer and is much more qualified, so I just try and stay with her. At one point I thought I had a flat on the bike, which made me lose her wheel. Then once I figured out I was just being paranoid, I went and got her.
So we're wondering what happened, whether it was a tactical move that, you know, that you worked really hard on the bike together, but obviously you knew you may have had that advantage going into the swim.
Yeah, I was hoping like I could get in the swim and a little bit ahead so she couldn't get right on my feet. So I kind of went hard down the ramp, and that was kind of the tactic.
Are you willing to share any tactical moves for this last stage?
I mean, to be honest, like, I'd like to ride with Nicola again. I think that worked out well, and we still have a whole nother day. So even though I'd love to win this whole stage, I also would like to set myself up just good for tomorrow.
Well, go and recover, and we look forward to seeing you.
That was interesting, Alistair. Have you ever been paranoid about a puncture?
Yeah, I have actually. Normally when you're getting a bit scared about going around corners and you go, you know, you lose your bike a bit, you go, oh, it's a puncture. And it very rarely is. It's normally just your mind telling you it's a puncture. But it's happened to me. It's happened to me a lot. Yeah, she did the right thing. At least she recovered from it. And it can be hard sometimes when that goes on in your head.
So just a 6-second advantage for Zafiris over Spirig, and we just heard her say she wants to ride with the Swiss anyway, so that won't matter. 25 seconds back to Cook, then Caldwell, Casper, Michelle and Stimpson, Lindemann, Klammer and Routier. Huge group in behind the leading two, but Zafiris and Spirig appear to have it between them, and only 13 standing. We've had a load more eliminations. Taylor Spivey just avoided it, 124. Let's go in here then from Nicola Spirig, who's down with Vicky.
So Nicola is here already setting up again for the next leg. 2 incredible legs, 4 months post-birth. You're having a fantastic day. This is going to plan, surely?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm really happy. I hope the third leg goes as well as the last 2.
The last 2. And it'll be a group of 2 beginning really at the start of this bike. Are you feeling confident that you'll catch Katie and work together?
I don't know. She's really strong, so we have to see.
Well, we wish you the best.
Thank you.
See, that's what happens when you're a mum. You have to be able to multitask. You can talk to Vicky, sort your bike out, probably do a couple of other things as well at the same time as we look at Elizabeth Castle, which has defended Jersey for close on 400 years.
Yeah,
and a well-earned drink. What do you think is the best way of utilising this 10-minute rest period, Alistair?
Well, definitely not by doing interviews, but obviously we want to see them being interviewed because we want to get the insight about what's going on. So I'm pretty sure they don't want to do the interview, but it's great for all the viewers. I think, yeah, you've got to set up. You know, you don't want to mess up your transition. So you want your bike to be ready. You want your shoes to be strapped back on. If your shoes aren't strapped flat somehow, they can get knocked off. If a shoe gets knocked off, that's 30 seconds, and that could put you out this kind of race. And then bit of nutrition in. Make sure the body temperature cools down just a little bit, and get your breath back. You don't have time for much else.
So they're just sorting the bikes out. I think we can go down and hear from Vicky, who's got Sophie Caldwell with her.
So I've got yet another athlete setting up, ready to go again. How did round 2 go?
Yeah, it was all right. We managed to pull up a bit on the bike on the group that got away, but yeah, there's still like Spirit quite a bit ahead now.
So now it's one group of 2 athletes ahead and then a big pack behind. Do you think that's going to benefit you in this final leg, sorry?
Well, I think me, Jodie and Rachel are together again, and we worked well on that one, so hopefully we can work together again on this one.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
She kind of speaks with a maturity way beyond her years, Sophie Caldwell. I thought that when I spoke to her a couple of days ago. She's only 22, but she's acquitting herself really well, and she knows that she could be on the way to some very useful points this afternoon. So Caldwell in that little group, as she was mentioning, along with Rachel Palmer and Jodie Stimpson. How do you see this stage 3 going? Because it's surely between the top 2, isn't it?
I have to think that that Katie and Nicola, I mean, they've certainly got some experience now, and Katie is, I think, being fairly modest, well, Nicola as well, but, you know, I think the two of them showed that they can work so well together. They'd be, you know, crazy not to utilise that strength that they can now. And but look, you know, going into this final stage, we've seen this, that, you know, the fatigue sets in, and but I do believe it's going to come down to both these two still.
Alistair, what have you made of some of the other performances? So we've talked about obviously not feeling well. Rachel Klammer, we thought she'd be around about, and she is. And, you know, the likes of Klammer, Stimpson, Casper could still pick up useful points.
Yeah, I think they're all absolutely as we expected them to be, at the, not quite at the sharp end of the field, but in the middle. So, yeah, I think that's as we expected. I think non-Stanford's an interesting one. I mean, obviously, I know her training in Leeds, and she's just had a really tough year, and especially a tough few months with injuries. I've had my fair share of Achilles injuries, and they're a nightmare. So I feel sorry for her, and I think, like she said, she's happy to be here, and it's tough day for her, but at least she was here, and never mind, it won't affect her too much. I think now this last leg's all about, it's going to be those top two. I think it's going to be Spirig trying to get on terms with Zafirez, and then yeah, let's see what happens in that swim, because I think Zafirez is going to have to put some time into her again.
The ever smiling Jodie Stimpson having a joke there with the training partner Sophie Caldwell, and they'll be starting together on the third stage in just a moment. Well, some very valuable boats sitting on the marina there, and we've got a field of massively talented triathletes. Zafirez and Spirig, two of the best around, look to have this between them, but behind them you can see how congested it is, and anyone from, well, third through to 10th at the moment, because there's just, what, 5 or 6 seconds separating those, could claim third place, and third place is worth having. It's 18 points, so it puts you in a pretty decent position, Emma, for tomorrow. So it's absolutely critical, those behind the leading two.
Look, I mean, we saw Claire Michelle win in that first stage, and now she's dropped back to 6 at 29 seconds. So, you know, there's so much going on within these races, and really at this point, I think the engines we're seeing in Nicola and Katie are really the two that are playing up to their strength.
OK, let's go and hear from Summer Cook. She's with Vicky.
Summer, a solid start to today. You've just got to finish it off with the third round. How are you feeling about this?
I'm feeling pretty good. I had a mechanical on the bike on that last round. My handlebars went down, but they got it fixed, so.
We wondered what had happened. You were in that pack, and it seemed that everything went on the final lap.
Yeah, it was actually 2.5 laps. I was just trying to corner completely with my weight and like not do anything with the handlebars at all.
So it's all fixed for the final round?
Yeah.
Okay, no more mechanicals, and best of luck for this final one.
So there we go. I said Summer Cook was struggling around the corners, and that's why handlebars, and she was only having to lean around corners and couldn't steer. So yeah, that's why she was struggling so much. It'd be really interesting to have someone actually, I don't know, someone who could read people's faces. I don't know whether that's a psychologist or something in with them now, because it's just so interesting watching some of them. I think Katie Zaferes, like you said earlier, would be a great poker player. She just looks so happy about it, and you know, she's giving nothing away. She doesn't look like she's tired. She doesn't look like she's too nervous. She's just kind of focused and happy about it. And whereas some more, you know, I think some more of them look a bit more tired and like they're not quite ready to throw themselves absolutely headlong into this next race.
Yeah, I think Nikki Spirig can look fairly composed. You never quite know what's going on in that extremely bright mind of hers.
Yeah, she's, I think, a good poker player as well. I don't know whether you call it Swiss sternness or something, but yeah, she definitely knows what she wants and doesn't give too much away. But yeah, I think, again, like we saw in the men, there's little groups of athletes having a little chat. You know, if we run together, are you going to help me out? Are we going to work together on the bike? How that's going to work out? And these dynamics of this kind of racing are the fascinating thing. I think, you know, there's so much going on and there's so many different tactics and technical points that you could literally talk all day about it.
Well, you know, Caldwell and Stimpson will help each other out. I think Laura Lindemann might be one who's interesting, who could well be in the shake-up for third or fourth and get some big points. It's just quite hard to know how much gas is left in the tank of the women just in behind Spirig and Zaferes. I mean, the same might be will be true of Taylor Spivey as well.
Well, here we go. We're all going to find out in this next K. Are they going to take it out and go for it on the bike? Is the transition going to cost them?
So away we go for the third and final stage of this women's triple mix, the first ever of Super League Triathlon for the women. Spirig off behind Zaferes, and after you heard Katie's interview, we know those two are going to ride together pretty shortly. And then in behind them, it's a real old battle.
As we said for the men's as well, I wasn't convinced about this format of starting the bike, running first and going through transition, but it definitely does just provide a little bit of more complication, just allowing for a bit more splitting up and a bit more action. So I think it's a good thing, and it'll be interesting to see now when Zaferes and Spirig come past. You know, has Spirig made any time up? She's a great bike mounter, and you know, has that allowed her to just creep up on Zaferes a little bit or not? This big group of 6 people together, I think they're going to be together now for most of this race, to be honest.
Summer Cook on the right, just getting onto her bike. She's got one of the fellow Americans for company. I think that's Taylor Spivey there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think she is coming up at 1:23 down, so we've seen Clammers at the back of that group, isn't she? Just gone around the dead turn there, coming out in probably a little bit too big a gear, but
it did appear that way, didn't it? She seemed to be moving fairly slowly, and like that she had her gearing wrong. So we have one of those little things you just got to try and remember and be prepared for, and also take into account the fatigue that's in your leg. Yeah, sure, you may normally out of a swim have you know, your gearing set up that way, but maybe it's these races where you've got to look at, well, maybe I have to make it, you know, that 1 or 2 easier just to get my body going again.
And here comes Spirig. We've seen her, you know, make up that gap, and she's pretty much straight back on Zaferes now with only a small gap back to her 5 meters or so, and let's see if she can get back on terms around these next few corners. But yeah, good cornering by Zaferes. They're using the whole road on a corner like that. You know, the more of the road you can use, literally, even if you hit the barrier and just nudge off it, the faster you can get around that corner and the safer it is.
Well, she's literally on Zaferes' wheel now, isn't she? Remember, they've got 5 laps of 1 kilometre each, and then they're going to be into the water, so they finish up with the run. And if it's close, that could be absolutely fascinating, Zaferes against Spirig.
Yeah, I'd love to see Spirig just sit there now. Just take about 30 seconds to a minute on the wheel, recover, and then just try and make an effort to get away and get a gap.
I mean, you would think that this...
Well, Lindemann's in trouble. Lindemann clearly has an issue there.
Yeah, I think she's crashed. She was trying to straighten her wheel and handlebars back up, which
does look like on that left elbow, doesn't she?
Normally means you've crashed. This is Sophie Caldwell really pushing hard, I think, at the front of that second group now, with everyone spread out, really spread out behind her. So she's Kirsten Casper and Summer Cook spread out. So you know, she's obviously pushing hard and really hurting everyone.
Here's the Lindemann incident.
Yeah, she just used a bit too much of the road there and literally went straight into the barrier. But she was trying, you know, sometimes you've got to take risks in events like this to get back on terms, and that's what she tried to do. But yeah, she doesn't look like she's hurt herself too much. She stood straight back up, which is good to see. Hopefully she'll be able to start tomorrow.
Yeah, there was a grimace and there was almost a semi-smile of resignation there, but let's hope she's okay. It looked much worse than I think it was, so hopefully all be good there. Meanwhile, Zefiras and Spirit continue their merry way up front.
Then the group behind them's absolutely shattered. I think that's 2 at the front. Definitely Caldwell on the front, and I'm not sure who was with her. I think it was Casper, but I'm not sure.
It wasn't Stimson, was it?
No, I don't think so. I think she's a bit further back. Spirit taking a drink. Yeah, maybe she is just having a little drink and she's biding her time, and as soon as she gets a chance, probably a few hundred metres before a technical section, have a go and take a risk around a corner and see if she can get a bit of a gap. But let's see.
You would have to think that Nicola would probably have in the back of her mind that this format, this way around, that would probably suit Katie that little bit more, you know, going back into the swim. They obviously ran well together, but in the middle of this race, that Katie is able to make her advantage and therefore able to probably keep it. So I think, you know, sitting at the back would be the smartest tactical move by Nicola, just to try and regain some energy and try and conserve anything she possibly could, you know, trying to make that up on the run of what she could possibly lose in the swim.
Yeah, I think we can fairly confidently say she's probably going to lose something around the 10-second mark in the swim. That's what happened last time. So she's got 2 options, hasn't she? She either sits on and goes, well, I'm not going to do any work with you because you're going to make it hard for me in the swim, or she goes, I'm going to sit on you and attack you and try and get that bit of a gap. So, yeah, who knows what's going through her mind. And of course, she's got the run after that to think about as well. I mean, she could literally say, I'm going to sit on you on the bike, sit on you through the swim, and back myself to beat you on the run. That doesn't necessarily sound like the way she'd race, but maybe that is what she's doing. And we're definitely seeing, you know, these girls are riding hard and they're riding well because it's really splitting up the group behind them. And to be honest, I think Zefiras is riding well. She's riding technically well, she's riding hard, and you see when Nicola comes out a corner like that, for her to get back in, she swings straight back onto the wheel and she's pedalling hard. I'm not sure she's got a lot of option here to really move it on. I think Zefiras is doing a good job at keeping it hard and honest.
If anything, she's looking smoother and better as this third race has come on than she has in the first 2. So, you know, her and Nicola, I think in the beginning you could certainly see a difference between their skill, but just seeing her come out of that roundabout then, she definitely looked as smooth and as low and as confident as Nicola.
Well, we said at the start, I mean, are there better swimmers than Katie? Yes, a few. Are there better bikers? Yes, a few. Better runners? Yes. But she's so good at all 3, an absolute complete triathlete, and so far she hasn't put her foot wrong this afternoon.
With the course thing as well, you know, you never really get a chance to ride a course with all the barriers up. I mean, you can ride around the roads, but you might as well ride around a shopping supermarket car park somewhere because it's completely different when the barriers are there. So you get a bit more confident as you go around the course. It's definitely as the laps go on, you get a chance to just be a bit more risky and learn what the corners are like, and that might be happening. You know, Zefiras might just gain confidence as she's gone on, as she knows the corners and knows what the limits are. We see Caldwell working really well with Casper, but Jodie Simpson is, with using all the grit she's got, just pulling them back in the game here. And there's not going to be a big time gap between all of these 6 or 7 ladies, I think, as they go into the swim. Although I think Claire Michael is, she's just struggling a little bit there. That gap, you know, that shows us that it's tough for her, and you know, Michelle's struggling there, I think.
If Summer Cook can stay vaguely competitive in the water, I think she's got to have a serious chance of 3rd place here and huge points on the run.
I have to agree. I mean, she has been there, and like we figured it in the previous in the previous stage, that she must have had a technical, so that she wasn't, you know, coming undone, so to speak. And yeah, I think, you know, she's an athlete that has seemingly been fairly quiet and probably not someone we really talked that much about before the race, but you know, I think you're 100% right that there could be a chance of her coming in on that podium.
Yeah, we're seeing Caldwell and Casper here in 3rd and 4th place behind the leading 2, and doing a really good job of working together. Actually, you know, they look like they've shared the work on the front fairly evenly, and then giving the other one a chance to have a bit of a rest on the back. But that's all they can do. I mean, it's the absolute obvious thing to do, and they're doing the right thing, showing the work to limit the time losses to these 2 and try and get in front of the girls behind. But even though it is the obvious thing to do, that's not always what happens in sport, and especially triathlon, as people have, you know, different motives and different ideas.
Well, as they come through with a lap to go, obviously because of that crash, Lindeman's now fallen more than 90 seconds behind. There are other casualties too. Abrosimova is right on the cusp. We'll keep you updated with exactly who's out and still who's left in. There's a 90-second rule, remember. If you fall 90 seconds behind at any stage, you are eliminated. So Bell Lap on the bike, and Caldwell currently heading a group. Oh, well, her and Casper actually got themselves a little gap in third and fourth.
Yeah, like we're talking about, those two are on their own, and they've been showing the work quite nicely. Claire Michelle there, still off the back, 10 metres off the back. That's a hard way to ride 7K. She's got no benefit from the girls in front of her at all. In contrast to what Jodie Stimpson's having to work hard. I think she's done that entire race on the front on her own, trying to catch a training partner in front of her. Nicola Spirig taking on the front for the first time, maybe. But again, I think Zafiris just has a bit more, seems to have a bit more firepower out those corners, or Spirig's playing a very tactical game. Who knows?
Well, seems to me Zafiris is adopting a thou shalt not pass kind of attitude, because I think Spirig was interested there for a minute, and Zafiris just shut the door on her on this final lap. So round the roundabout for the final time on the bikes. Remember, a 2-kilometre run will follow this, and then we'll find out who'll get the points on this first ever Super League Triathlon women's triple mix.
So you saw Michelle there, Claire Michelle from Belgium, pretty much on every straight bit of road she gets back on terms of that group within a few metres, gets in the draft zone, the right place to be. Every time she goes around a corner, goes off and has to sprint back on again, so it's costing her so much more energy than the few people in front of her. Spirit gets around her for transition, you know, exactly where she wants to be. Exactly like we talked about before, if she can get in that swim first, even if it is just a body length in front, her chances of staying with Zafiris on her feet as she comes out just is so much better.
So a 300-metre swim now, and they're together as they have been for, well, probably about half an hour. Caldwell racing really well just in behind, about 20 seconds adrift.
Sophie certainly does race with more maturity. Like you said, she spoke with far more maturity than what her age is, and she does race like that as well. I think she's got an extremely bright future ahead of her.
Yeah, she just got a bit caught up in transition there. You know, as people are crossing over each other, it's really, really easy to do. And yeah, that's going to cost a couple of seconds. But this group are all together, and I think we're probably going to expect a few, probably to Constantina back together on the swim. Spirig is going to make it into the water first, I think, which, you know, should help her. As Zafiris has to swim past her, Spirig can just get that advantage. Jump on the hips, slowly move back behind the hips, and then jump on the feet. She won't really have to do any hard swimming for the first 100 metres.
Yeah, so Spirig does have that slight advantage, although Zafiris is trying to get on terms with her early. And they've got about 130 metres until they hit that first buoy, and then make a sharp left.
So they're swimming wide there. You're swimming too wide to get the advantage. If you're within that metre kind of lateral gap, you're definitely getting advantages, and the closer you are, the better, and you're slowing down the person next to you. That wide, she's not getting any advantage from the series at all.
I think Katie's very aware of it, isn't she? And playing, you know, some of the strategic moves that Nicola would employ, and is well aware that, you know, knowing where Nicola needs to be, and just trying to make sure that, you know, she isn't in contention, that she doesn't, you know, take that advantage.
Yeah, and here we are again. Zafiris on the front. And Grace swimming straight, pushing it on, and Nicola behind, doing everything she can to hold on and not lose too much time. But
you can hear her stroke rate even compared to the beautiful long stroke of Katie. So
yeah, I think Katie's looking tighter though. She's definitely not got the recovery she had before. Her arms aren't lifting quite as high out the water. So, you know, it's, well, as you'd expect, of course you would. These races are going to take its toll, aren't they?
Well, no points and no dollars for aesthetic beauty in the water. It's all about what works, and if Spirit can keep it relatively close when they come out, she'll give herself a chance on what could be an absolutely fascinating run.
This is already a 1-2 metre gap back off Zafiris to Spirig here. So again, I think we are probably going to see a gap around the 10-second mark going into the run for Spirig to try close down, which yeah, over 2K at the end of this, who I think is going to be tough for her, but you never know. Like we keep saying, fantastic competitor. Gone around the turn buoy there with the one stroke on her back again. Yeah, whether that saves it any time or not, I don't know, but yeah, it's obviously what her and her coach have decided is the best way to go about it. The group behind, someone's out in front, has actually got a bit of a gap there. I'm not sure who it is. Could well be Sophie Caldwell. You know, she's a she's a great swimmer, so I wouldn't be surprised if she's making up a bit of time on this swim, especially now she's in clear water and just able to swim as well as she can.
Well, if you can see the number on her, it's 25 she is, Sophie.
I'm pretty sure that's Jodie we're looking straight down on there in the middle with a oh no, they're both there on each other's feet. So I think that is Jodie and Sophie right in the group, so I'm not sure who that person out in front is. We're back on looking at Zafirez now. Looking at a leg kick, maybe we could critique that, I don't know. I don't kick my legs, so I'm definitely not one to talk about this.
It's not a prescribed method, is it, for triathletes to do that much with their feet in the water, is it?
I think it's horses for courses, it really is. Again, you know, it's an age-old debate, and we'll talk about this as well, whether you're better kicking or not. Should you kick nearer the end of the swim? Does that save your legs for later on? And I just think it's so independent. You know, what swimming stroke have you grown up with? Are you a quick turnover swimmer or not? Do you rely on your leg kick or not? And I think there's so many different, you know, for example, I swim with a high turnover, and Javier Gomez swims with a decent leg kick and a low turnover, and we normally end up in a fairly similar position.
Just saying, the last group of four, which is Spivey, Riveros, Lindemann, who actually still is in at the moment, and Abrosimova, they're right on the cusp of being 90 seconds down, so we might lose all four of them, and then we'll have even fewer men left, even fewer women left than we had men about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, I think this elimination format is great, but it's tough on the athletes. I think we should probably explain the reason for it is a safety one. You know, you can't have people lapping each other on the bike. So with about just over a kilometre lap on the bike, 1.2k, 90 seconds, they're probably getting round it in about 140, 150. I don't think we've actually timed it yet. So if you don't eliminate them, you could get lapped athletes in the way, which is dangerous and I think really bad for spectating as well. Yeah,
it's not done to shame them. It's purely for safety reasons. So the leading two are out. We'll get you that time differential momentarily, but here are the chases, and as you can see, it's all to play for third, fourth, and fifth by the look of it, and there's a huge difference in points.
Yeah, Casper and Summer Cook right up there. So Summer Cook's in a good position here to use a run strength, not only on the run, but getting up this hill we keep talking about it, and all the way through transition. So I'd expect to see her make a bit of a move, but the big question is whether Spirig can catch Zafirez up. Nice, fairly clean transition for Zafirez. Transition, she's out and going.
I think it's the first sign of fatigue I've seen in both of their faces. That's maybe the first glimpse I've possibly seen between Nicola or Katie. So, you know, we talked that Nicola may have been more tactical and on the bike and just sat on Katie to try and conserve. Did Katie spend too much? And someone like Summer, you know, how fast is she running, and you know, is her ability, you know, capable of actually tacking onto the back of these two?
Well, you said 10 seconds, Alice, so it's actually 11, so if you could try and be a bit more accurate in future.
I'll try my best. As we saw in the men's as well, I mean, these guys, these girls are running nowhere near as quick as they did in the early events. The fatigue and the lactate from the swim, blood in the wrong place, whatever you want to call it, is really taking its toll. And this group of 6-7 girls who are together is spread right out, and that's coming out the swim, the fatigue taking its toll, and going through transition, making mistakes when you're tired.
Well, it's Zafirez's race to lose from here. She's got a very handy advantage over Nicola Spirig, who has a similar distance back to the chasers. Summer Cook is amongst those, and also Sophie Caldwell too.
Yeah,
and Casper.
Looking at this first few hundred metres, I can't see Spirig catching Zafirez from here. She didn't look like she was moving that well, and yeah, very rightly so. She might go, actually, the effort and the likelihood is I'm not going to get back on terms of let's settle for second and save my energy for another day.
Number of times Kirsten Casper goes under the radar. We've hardly seen her, we've hardly mentioned her, and she could come third or fourth there very easily.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. She shares a name with the ghost. Maybe that's a good analogy. You never see her until she gets to the finish line.
Well, we've all seen Katie Zafirez. We've seen plenty of her in this event. We've seen plenty of her this season. She's predominantly at the front in every race in which she competes, and she's put herself in pole position here to get maximum points and win the women's triple mix. Nicola Spirig gamely battling on in second.
Yes, Zafirez is running well there. I mean, quite interestingly, she doesn't look like she's running that fast, but she obviously is, and I think she just has a fantastic endurance physiology there that's driving her ability to do these sports. Whereas if you look at Nicola Spirig, she just looks like, you know, she's moving, running a bit better, but evidently, I think that Zafiris is actually putting a bit of time into it, to be honest. I don't think Nicola has caught it at all. So it's just interesting looking at how the different kind of techniques and ability to do it. Exactly like we're talking about swimming and kicking, it's horses for courses. There's no one way to do it.
Yeah, relatively, relaxed shoulders, hand carriage is still actually quite low compared to Nicola. Her shoulders are quite high as well as her hands, and quite a quick turnover. Her stride's not long, and like you said, it's often deceiving when people have a running style like that they're moving a lot faster than what you imagine. And I mean, Nicola is also a fantastic runner, but Katie's somewhat making it look very relaxed, even though she is moving extremely well.
She is, that poker face. Yeah, you wouldn't have thought this is a third race in the last hour or so, would you? So she's doing a great job, and I think this is her race now. We're just getting the aerial shot of how far they're actually apart, and that I'd say is at least 11 seconds, if not a little bit more now. So I can't see that being caught over the next 1,200 metres, and I think this is definitely our 1-2. Going to be interesting to see what happens behind though. We saw Casper and Summer Cook running together, closely followed by some others. So yeah, third place is all to play for.
It is indeed, as Zafiris and Spirig will hear the bell. And the last we looked back, it was an all-American battle for third place, and it still is between Summer Cook and Kirsten Casper, and they appear to have a little bit in hand of Claire Michel and others.
So Zafiris has actually run 5 seconds faster over that first lap than Spirig. So like we say, she is actually moving it better and putting time into her. I think Summer Cook has made the move here on Casper, and I think she's probably going to come third. I can't see her catching Spirig. I think that gap, 14 seconds, is too big. I think she just looks like she's moving better, and she's got that gap on Casper, and I think that's going to be enough for third place for her.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as soon as it became apparent that this race wasn't going to be similar to the men's, a small little breakaway at the top, I think Cook was always right in the mix for big points, and that looks like the way of it.
Yeah, interesting to see there. Sophie Caldwell is first time all day that Sophie Caldwell and Simpson haven't been almost shoulder to shoulder, and there's a 10-second gap between them that's happened early on in the run. So I think again, Jodie's had a tough season with a bit of injury and stuff, and I think that could well be showing now. Big gap, massive gap here for Zafiris, and yeah, like we said, I think she's running away with this. It's completely energy preservation now. There's no point of winning this race by any more than a few seconds. She might as well just take it as easy as she can, get across the line, and start thinking about tomorrow already.
Having a good little look there at that roundabout, just seeing how far she's got and if she is making ground. So
all these have been eliminated, by the way. They're just interested spectators now, like us.
They're excited for the sport too, and I'm sure they wish they were out there still in that position.
Yeah, at least they haven't just disappeared, upset. They're still here enjoying the day, which is great to see.
Yeah, they haven't taken the bat and ball home, no. But Katie Zafiris marches inexorably towards this triple mixed title, but huge credit to Nicola Spirig, who's still looking strong enough, as you say, to almost certainly hold off Summer Cook and maintain second place, which is worth much gold. 21 points for second.
Yeah, I think Cook's actually coming after Nicola Spirig pretty hard there. We just saw an aerial shot, and the gap from Zafiris to Spirig is much bigger than it is from Spirig back to Cook. So I think she's going to run out of road, and I don't think she's going to get caught. And even if she did get caught, I think Spirig will put on a good last 100 or 200 sprint to make sure she gets that second place. But yeah, Summer Cook's had a great last run, and we'll see the next time we get a shot if this gap's got any closer. Meanwhile, Zafiris has got well clear there. I think the time gap's probably got even bigger, and her face just looks that little bit more relaxed, so maybe she is starting to think about tomorrow now.
Well, the gap between Spirig and Cook when they came through to take the bell was 14 seconds. So we'll see exactly what that's reduced to, but as you say, Zafiris, no danger whatsoever for the American, who got on the overall podium for the WTS this year, which he never has before. Just goes to show the level of consistency through the season. She's got time to high-five the crowd. She knows the triple mixed title is hers now, and she can start to enjoy it. And as you say, just wind down a little bit, because there's no benefit. You don't get any extra points for winning by a certain distance or a certain number of seconds. And a crowd that's stayed all day. They were here early to get prime position for the men's race. None of them have gone home, and they're giving Katie Zafiris a huge ovation here as she comes towards the finishing line. She was a lot of people's favourites for this title. Obviously, she's got to reproduce this kind of form tomorrow, but she's made a statement of intent to the field. She's done absolutely nothing wrong. Solid swim, solid bite, a really excellent run. She's run away from the double Olympic medalist Nicola Spirig over this last 2,000 metres. And Katie Zaferes is the inaugural winner of the Super League Triathlon Women's Triple Mix, and she's done it in the grand manner. You see behind, no danger either to Spirig in second, and it's going to be Summer Cook behind her for third. I'm not sure Spirig thought she'd do anywhere near as well as this, Alice. I think you can tell from her body language.
Yeah, I think she's really happy with it, and good on her, you know, only 4 months ago giving birth. The side, for me, the fact that Zaferes was celebrating that early on, 200 or 300 metres from the finish line, showed me that she'd already switched off and was thinking about tomorrow, which is great to see.
Look at this, the sprint's on, and Casper is going to get there for fourth place, and that's 2 more points than you get for fifth, just outruns Claire Michel.
Yeah, and we're seeing Sophie Caldwell coming here for 6th place. I think she'll be happy with that as well, to be honest. You know, that's a good performance though, and Routier as well. I don't think, you know, I'm not sure how many people have backed her to run this well on the last run, but she's done well. Jodie Stimpson battling behind her, so, you know, she's going to be, I think they're in 8th place, just behind Routier. But great, you know, it's been great racing through those 3 races for all of them, and it's been great. Yeah, they've been in the mix. We couldn't have called it because there's these 8 girls from 3rd back to 9th place have been basically swapping places all day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really exciting. It's a great 7th place, as you say, for Routier. And Stimpson, I think, just searching to find those run legs. She's not had a season where she's been blessed to be injury-free.
Yeah, to be honest, it's hard. You know, triathlon running is you've got to be in great running shape, but you've got to be in great swim bike shape as well. And anything that costs you, you know, it shows.
Well, let's go and hear from our winner now, because Katie Zaferes is down with Emma.
Katie Zaferes, the winner of the inaugural Super League Triple Mix. Tell me how it feels.
Yeah, it feels really good. When I first got on the bike, I was a little off technically with the corners, and I was like, oh no, I was at the back, but I got more comfortable and moved up and was happy with how the race progressed as it got on.
You say you get better as the racing goes on, the harder the racing gets. Did you just feel that this type of format suits you down to the ground?
Yeah, I wasn't sure, like I feel like that, and then after I said it, I was like, ooh, but what if it doesn't happen? Like, I was kind of nervous, and especially having just raced last weekend, but I felt good. The swim feels as horrible as all the boys told us it did, so at least I was prepared for that and didn't panic.
You've had a stellar season so far. I mean, the best of your career, coming away with the first ever Women's Super League. I mean, you've got one more tomorrow. Do you really consider yourself a chance, or do you just put that to the back of your mind and approach it like a new race again tomorrow?
Oh, I really hope to approach it just like I did today and hope the same result comes away from it, but I also know day 2, like, it gets significantly harder, so I'll go for it for sure, though.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck and cannot wait to see you out there again.
All right, thank you so much.
Well, Zaferes understandably very happy, and why wouldn't she be? She'd be really proud of herself, as we just double-check the results. In the end, a 19-second advantage she had over Nicola Spirig. Summer Cook got within 7 seconds of the Swiss. Casper out-sprinted Claire Michel to finish 4th. Caldwell, really good run for the youngster. She finishes in 6th place. Routier, as Alistair said earlier, that's a bit of a shock. 7th for the Spaniard. Jodie Stimpson in 8th. Rachel Klammer consistent again with the top 10. And Abrosimova finishing 10th.
So we've only got 13 finishers. Was the 14 in the men's? Yeah. So I don't think we wouldn't have predicted that, would we?
Well, it just shows what a tough event this has been. Still a bit breezy here, but we've had some magnificent racing, a few thrills and spills as well, and a very worthy winner at the end of it. Well, we've got plenty more action for you to come tomorrow, but worth reflecting on Katie Zaferes' performance there. Interesting what we heard her say in that interview, Alistair, about, you know, she was a bit unsure on the bike early on. It took a while to get that confidence, and it certainly showed later.
I think that is one of the key things about really good athletes is obviously things aren't going to go your way all the time, and when anyone's having a good day, you physically feel good and everything's in your control, it's easy to have a good race. the times when it's not great, and you know you're worrying about something and you're under pressure, but you recover it, especially in such a short race. I think that's a really good positive sign.
Well, talking of good races, Claire Michel certainly had a good race today, and she's downstairs talking to us.
Claire, I'm sat with you here. You've just finished the triple mix. Brutal day out. You won the first round, finished 5th overall. Are you happy with that?
You know, I'm glad I stayed in it. After watching the boys from my hotel room and seeing people the 92nd, I was thinking, oh gosh, you know, one mistake and, you know, one bad swim or something from the get-go and you're chasing the rest of the day. And so, I mean, obviously, winning the first one is good, but you want to win the last one. But I was just thinking, try to get as much of an advantage as I can give myself.
Definitely. Well, you held a really good account of yourself today. Tomorrow, as you just pointed out to me, you've got less recovery, so you've really got to go and get recovered now.
Everyone says women are tougher, so I guess we'll just deal with it.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I think she was preaching to the converted there. Women are tougher, but we've seen some tough women this afternoon. Just to reiterate that Katie Zafiris has taken the maximum points, which is 25, and it puts her in pole position for the eliminator tomorrow. Well, it's been a magnificent day of racing, Ali, and we've seen again that, you know, those who are prepared to take risks are the ones that get the rewards, Zafiris and Spirig in particular.
Yeah, I think although we've talked about the top three a lot there, fantastic risk-taking, taking on, brilliant. I think it's worth mentioning young Lindemann from Germany. She crashed and still made it in and is still in 12th place, still in, finished. Fantastic to see, you know, to get back up after a crash and cope with the issues with that, and she's done all right. So good on her, and let's hope she's not too sore, that she can get out tomorrow and race well.
So that's your top 13 in the women's triple mix. And remember, even those who were eliminated will be back tomorrow for the eliminator. And talking of tomorrow, at 1 o'clock, that's British Standard Time, or British Summer Time, I should say. So adapt it to wherever you are, is the women's eliminator. And then at 4 o'clock BST, it's the men's eliminator. 2 champions will be crowned tomorrow. Watch it live with us. In the meantime, let's go and enjoy the presentations.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to present the trophies to the female superstars of Super League Triathlon following today's triple mix race. Presenting the triple mix trophies today is local Jersey junior triathletes Eva Scott and Joe Badeau. Presenting the champagne is Mr. Keith Beecham, Chief Executive Officer of Visit Jersey. In 3rd place for the women's triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, number 99 from the USA. Give it up for Summer Cook. In 2nd place for the women's triple mix at Super League Jersey 2017, wearing number 18 from Switzerland, needs no introduction. Let's hear it for Nicola Spirig. And today's winner, the first ever female winner of the triple mix at Super League Triathlon history. Let's turn it up for number 16 from the USA is Katie Zafiris. Let's give it up for our women's podium finishers of the Super League Jersey Triple Mix Triathlon.
Okay. So while they get ready to spray some champagne about, and some very well deserved champagne as well, not quite as aggressive as the men were with those bottles a little earlier on. I think we can go down and hear from someone else who had an excellent day today, another of the Americans, Kirsten Casper. Well, we'll try and get to Kirsten a little later on. All smiles from Summer Cook and Katie Zafiris. We've mentioned the phenomenal American women's team, and they just keep on winning titles. Doesn't matter what format, they are always competitive, and they've been split by the double Olympic medalist Nicola Spirig, who's put herself into a really good position going into tomorrow. Just to confirm, obviously, you add the points from the eliminator tomorrow to the points the women have earned today, and you get the overall champion. Let's go down and catch Emma's interviews with our top three.
Well, I'll start with you, Summer Cook. You're in some distinguished company. How do you feel about coming away with a third place at the inaugural Super League?
I'm feeling really good about today. I wasn't really sure what to expect coming in. I felt like it could go either way. I was really proud of myself to just go out there and compete and not be afraid to put myself close to the front and just race my hardest.
So coming into tomorrow, do you think about it being a completely different race? Do you conserve? What are your tactics, you know, knowing that you've got to chase down these two girls if you want to take the overall?
I haven't really thought about tactics going into tomorrow yet. I was kind of just trying to stay in the moment today and focus on what I needed to do. So I guess I'll have some thinking about strategy to do tonight.
Well, we wish you a good recovery and the best of luck for tomorrow. Nicola, I think you are the new Wonder Woman of the modern era. Is it really possible? I mean, you just really showed us that you love to race and you know how to race.
Yeah, thank you very much for the support from all of you. It has been great being here. I was just, it was amazing. I had good fun, and I hope I'm a bit of an inspiration for all the moms, and thank you very much.
Well, we're very excited to see you go head-to-head with someone that's had a stellar season, number 3 in the world this year on the World Series. What can we expect from you tomorrow? You're just going to continue to get better?
I sure hope so. That's the plan. I just want to, kind of like Summer said, stay in the moment and not think too far ahead, especially tomorrow. I mean, it's this all over again, so you never know what'll happen.
Well, we've seen some amazing racing. It's wonderful to see you girls out there, and we cannot wait for you. So go and recover and enjoy the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma. That was fantastic interviews, and great to see some emotion on the faces of the women who've really put it all out there today. Katie Zafiris, we talked about. Nicola Spirig, how good was that?
Oh, that was so enjoyable to see Nicola Spirig come back and do that after. Before the Rio Olympics, they were saying what's going to happen with Nicola Spirig. She comes and gets a silver medal, and then she comes to Super League 4 months after a baby, and boom, she's killed it.
Let's talk about Laura Lindeman's crash, because we kind of glossed over it a little bit in the telecast, but up here in the studio, we were a little stressed when we saw that, but she got up okay.
She did, and she crossed the finish line, which was a real credit to her. But that's the fastest part of the course. So she hit that pretty hard. You can see she got beaten up.
She got a couple of badges of honour there.
Yeah, back on the bike and straight to it.
Would have stung a little bit in the salt water after she got off that one. Let's talk more about Nicola Spirig. Of course, we've harped on about obviously becoming a mother for the second time, but just to show the younger ones exactly why she's considered one of the best in the world and has done for the last 17 or 18 years.
Well, she won her first world title in 2001. She was racing back when Emma Snowsill, who's on our commentary team, hadn't even won her first world championship. So she's been around for so long, she just keeps getting better and better. And it was just marvellous to see her at the front of a triathlon again.
Emma started and ended her career during Nicola's career, and she's still getting up there on the podium.
It's just marvellous.
And Emma's a gold medalist, so you know exactly how good she is. You're looking forward to tomorrow?
Can't wait. I think the takeaway from today is that tactics count. Look for young Laura Lindeman to come up again tomorrow. I think she was great today, and she'll be one to shine tomorrow.
We flip the script. Tomorrow we've got the women first and then the men, so there's plenty to look forward to. The Eliminator is another brutal format. We've seen them leave it all out there. It's time to go back and the athletes to recover. We're going to recover as well, and we'll see you all tomorrow for the second day of Super League Jersey.